Earth below me, sky above me, fire within me. Brought to you by UPRN Network. I'm Trish Mo, and this is The Missing Piece.
Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, March 6th. I almost said February 6th. We are broadcasting live out of New Orleans 105.3 FM and United Public Radio Network, and also now on Roku. So tonight is the last full moon. Well, it's this tonight and tomorrow morning, really. The last full moon of before spring, actually. The equinox is March 20th, I believe. So this is the full.
Suck all your blood out.
This is the full worm moon.
See,
in
worm
Virgo,
moon,
I believe.
suck you dry.
Yes, and I am welcoming back Joe. Yes, the infamous Joe Montaldo.
The vampire guy.
The vampire guy from New Orleans.
No, it says something else. What does that thing say? I can forget what it says. It says something up there.
Hell has no fury like a madman on a mic. It's fitting. Yes.
Yes, I was actually talking about someone else, but still.
Oh.
We can't mention his name. He's a faded thing of the past. But anyway, I love doing radio. I was on last night. I was on what was it, K something another out of New York. And these people in New York, they comment, "Well, I don't believe in a UFO." I'm like, "Really? You don't?" I was like, "Well, yeah, the UFOs aren't real." I'm like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." I said, "Do you know what a UFO is?" "Well, it's an alien." I said, "Nope, nope, nope." I said, "UFO means unidentified flying aircraft." I said, "Area." I said, "Aerial asshole phenomenon." I said, "Oh, wait." It's okay. But I said, "Dude, you gotta calm down. Just because we're not saying everything's an alien." Oh, wait. Joe Biden said aliens are real on what's his name, Anderson Cooper show.
Nuh-uh.
He said there was a flash of light, and there it was, and it was just pointing. If that's the case, not to think that it couldn't happen. I'm just thinking he needs to be immediately removed from office. These stories come out. You never know if they're true or not. Like the one where he's wearing his pants backwards. I said, okay, it's got to be fake, right? It's got to be. How can you especially men, how do you put a pair of, anybody, how do you put a pair of pants on back? I mean, how do you get this thing zipped up?
Well,
how do you, you might be able to do it because, you can twist around, but old guys, they can't be moving around like
no,
that.
I was
Somebody
going to say,
would have had to zip 'em.
remember in the 90s, I believe it was 80s or it must have been 90s when that was a thing. Remember crisscross? And they wore their clothes backwards. And
Yeah, but they probably had somebody back there zipping them things up for them. Well, yeah, I
I'm
guarantee
sure.
a yoga student could do it because they're all bendy like that. Not normal, Scott. And Joe's 80. I don't even think his bones would bend that way. They'd more likely break. So I'm thinking if it is true.
I've worn my clothes like inside out by accident, when I was like in college and hung over going to class and stuff, but not backwards.
Yeah. But that was just weird. So I never thought it was true. I was like, it's got to be bullshit. It's just total bullshit. And then someone sent a picture. I think it was from the Ukraine, and it was actually. You're like, no way. I'm thinking, did his wife not notice? Did his handlers not know? I mean, it's impossible. I said, no, I still didn't believe it. And then the Poland newspaper picked it up and carried it. So that's probably why, Russia didn't nuke him off the planet. Because think about it. We called Russia and told him we're going to be in Kiev, and then we're going to get on a little rinkety-ass train and drive to Poland in the middle of a war. I'm thinking, oh, accidentally, boom. But no, I don't. There's some other games going on here. That's all I can tell you.
They're like, this little American man, he can't even put his pants on, right?
I know. What are we worth? He's going to shoot a nuke at us. He's probably going to one of his own states.
They're like, we can't bully the. We can't bully this special.
It's embarrassing, is all I can say. The guy, and everybody's like, well, the economy's great. I said, do you live in the same country I do? Well, the job market. I said, okay, yeah. So you can get a job, but you can't afford to buy nothing because everything's out there.
Exactly.
The other day I said, a friend of mine says, he said, how much you spend at the grocery store? I said, do you want me to tell you the truth? You want me to lie? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, in the old days, I spent about $200 a trip. I said, these days, 360 to 380, and I'm not even getting as
Yeah.
much as I did with the 200. I said, now things have eased a little bit down here. You can get filet mignon for $9.99 now, and you can get ribeyes, and you can get ground meat for about $2.50 a pound. Eggs are down to about $2.50 a dozen. So it has eased up at here, but the only reason why is everything's grown locally down here, including vegetables. So we don't have to worry about butter. What is his name? Butterbutt. We don't have to worry about him screwing up the transit down here because there's nothing to really screw up. It's I don't know.
Well, so I have
Um,
this theory too. People complain that the US government doesn't provide that much for its own citizens, yet we're paying, for if you're from another country. I know in my state anyways, University of Kansas has one of the or it used to have one of the largest populations of international students, which I mean I think is great. But they could go there for free. Whereas I had student loans for the last 30 years or 20 years, you know, paying for that. And so people always say the US government, doesn't provide for its own citizens, but here we pay and we do have, I don't remember where I saw this statistic, but the largest population of um, immigrants and refugees and things like that historically, not just this year or that means throughout time. um and I have a theory on that. So when you talk about um whether we import or export agricultural goods, things like that, I think they do the same with people. I think it's an incentive, if they're trying to drive out, because Americans have become lazy, like the ones that are from here, right? Like it seems like the whole generation, not really Generation X, but the millennial, I guess they would say. And so it's similar to crop. Yeah, it's like crop rotation, right? So you got to rotate out the people that aren't pulling their weight, like drive them out and give others an incentive who might, be a more resilient crop in here to
to take over.
to take over. Yeah. That's
Uh,
that's
the,
my theory on that.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of weirdness on this planet. That's all I can say. If I was somebody visiting from another world, I'd be looking around like, wow, did you see what that idiot just did? And they talking about intelligent people, not the real idiots. I
No,
just
I would think of planet Earth like the that nasty gas station truck stop that you see. I'm
But
like,
it depends what part you're in. That's the real problem. If you're an alien and you come to like London or New York or Moscow or Beijing, you're like, oh my God, I'm never coming back. But if you come back to one of the more beautiful places on the planet, you may stay. I mean, the planet's
that's
really
true.
gorgeous. It's just where man lives is not at some places are still go. I mean, I live on a coast. It's pretty here. And, I've been out to Cali a few times. I've been up north a few times. And the West Coast is pretty. It's overcrowded and it's stinky, but I can't say nothing because New Orleans is stinky, even if it ain't overcrowded. Big cities, unfortunately, are just big cities. That's what they are. Somebody wrote, "Can Kansans survive on steak alone?" Wait. What was that? Steak, sage, grass, and oil. I think they could actually.
Well, you would be
Assholes.
surprised how resilient people. I saw something the other day that said only 1% of the population of the entire United States lives in this strip in the Midwest, which is from, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and part of
Because only
Texas.
crazy people live there. Look,
That's
I was just in
what I'm
Wyoming.
saying.
I was just in Wyoming in September. Okay, look, first off, guys, it ain't even pretty up there. It's just
No, it's
some
flat.
funky brown hilly ground with some antelope running around and some oil rigs on it, and that's it. I mean, the state is monstrous, and there's only 500,000 people in a state that could span the entire Gulf Coast and go
Yep.
all the way up into Baltimore. So that state's huge. It's like half the size of Texas at least, and or bigger. And I'm like, what? And people, we're overcrowded. Really? Have you been to Wyoming or Montana or Idaho? I mean, who the hell is in Idaho? 10 people? All right, yeah, there's probably a little more than that, but I mean, it's a huge state with nobody in it. I mean, there are states that are just, even New Mexico. I mean, come on, there's what, 2 million people in New Mexico, 3 million. Um, Wait, okay, John, we'll give them 4 million. Ooh, 4 million. Other than that, where do they live? Albuquerque? Roswell? I shouldn't even brought Roswell up. Yeah, okay, look, I'm just saying. There's just little towns with people in them and then openness. Just, I mean, all of West
Yeah.
Texas is just a freaking wind farm. That's all it is. I mean,
Well,
you
that's
get out there
like
and goats. I'm sorry, don't forget about the
southern
goats.
Kansas now too.
Yeah, I seen that last time I was out there. It's well, guys, anywhere where it's flat and windy, they just love it. They just put them things up. Yeah, they're just polluting our planet with nasty windmills. First off, they're ugly. They'll never make as much energy as they cost to build and keep up.
Hmm.
It's one of them things I still don't know why we're doing. Well, some things I understand. When you build a lot of it, it gets cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. These things don't seem to do that, and they seem to catch on fire a lot.
Well, I was going to say, aside from that, oh, and that I had to look up because I've never known that statistic before. Kansas is the 15th largest state by area, and the 36th most populous of the 50 states, which is crazy to me. That was in 2020, because there's 82,000, over 82,000 square miles, and it says there's almost 3 million people. But all of those 3 million people have to be in Topeka, Kansas City, and Wichita, because there's
Yep, I would
nothing
bet
else
money on
in the
that.
West.
Yeah, I'd bet money
Like
on
there's
that.
literally nothing else. And Kansas City's made up of like 15 towns. So
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. That's anywhere out west. Oh no, Jimmy, even Oregon and Washington's like that. And to be honest with you, once you break the middle of California up, it's pretty much like that too. There's a lot of marijuana farms up there
yeah.
too, but still. No, I mean, you ever been to Eureka? You remember the TV show Eureka? Well, there's Eureka, California. It's a cool place out there in the west, out by the coast. There's lots of cool little towns once you get it. I can't even think of a big town above the middle of California. I mean, Sacramento and
Yeah.
San Francisco and LA and San Diego are all down there in the bottom of the state. I can't, are midways down.
Oh gosh, what's that? That ski resort. It's starts with an M.
Don't
Mammoth?
ask.
Mammoth, California?
Maybe.
Is that a
So, but that's just a recreational place where they go hang out and get
right?
high and
Yeah.
fall down the mountain.
It's a little village.
um, Anybody in the chat where y'all at? Oh, okay, never mind. I see it. I forgot I couldn't remember which Facebook page I had open, which messenger I had open. I thought I had an Instagram messenger open. Well, yeah, because Instagram people ask different questions than Facebook people, unless I have them tied together sometimes, and it's just the same people. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't know if I want to live in Northern California. I mean, it's really pretty up there. I've driven up there when I was. Oh God, I'm not even going to tell you how long ago it was. It's embarrassing how long ago. Half you some bitches wasn't even alive.
Man, I'd get
It was
abducted there
beautiful.
more often than I would here.
Yeah,
So
they all get probed out there, and they all forget about it when they get their coladas. They have such a weird lifestyle. They just forget about it. Oh, we can't think about aliens. We got to go here. We got to go there. Oh, you know what, Bobby? I'll tell you this. So when I go out to Cali, I've been really lucky. So when I went out there to go film for ANA, and so I was out there about 5 days. They gave me my own purse. This little girl was cute as hell, knew everything about LA, took me everywhere, met all kind of people. Till we got the gig with the we no, she just they had tickets for anything you wanted to go to. So there was some gala going on. She asked me if I wanted to go. I was like, sure, I got a suit with me, no problem. So I popped on a suit. We went to the gala, and I met a producer who was looking to do something different on from Netflix, and then we had set up a deal to do 28 abduction reenactments, and then COVID came. So I figured, okay, that's done and over with. Well, just recently it came back to attention, and it looks like we're going to at least try to get some of them done and see where it goes. So I'll keep y'all informed on that. But it's because of her. She said, because I didn't know nothing about LA. I've been out to LA 10 or 15 times, but I don't know nothing about LA because I'm always out there. Like I always tell anybody, go with a local. Unless you got a guide, like I had a couple of times, you always go with a local. So when I'm out for like Writers of the Future, well, most of the people I'm out there with live there. I just ask them where shit's at. And, well, last year was different because Chris Chris was from Australia. I was from New Orleans. The other two guys with us were from three guys with us was from the UK, and one of them were from Spain. So it was a very different. People were buying us booze and giving us stuff. It was insane. I am not kidding you. I can't even tell you what other stuff was getting. This might
Yeah.
be some children listening. For Lord have mercy.
They always say people out there are stuck up and rude.
Well, we went in this club. We were just hanging out drinking, and the guy came up and said, "Man, you got a kind of crazy accent. Where you from?" I said, "New Orleans." "Oh, New Orleans." He asked me 5 million questions. "Can I buy you a drink?" "Yeah." And he said, "Where are your friends from? They from New Orleans too?" I said, "No." I said, "This crazy blue-eyed, good-looking guy. He's from Australia." I said, "These three guys are from the UK, and the other one's from Spain." They're like, "What?" All of a sudden, it was like 25 people come out of nowhere. They all surrounding us, talking to us, buying us stuff. What's his name? Said, "You got any weird guy?" Just hands you like a handful. I was like, "Oh my God." Then I forgot it's legal out there. I thought, "Oh shit, we're going to jail," but I forget it's legal in California. So it was an insane night everywhere we went. So we left that club. He said, "Guys, like, come next door with us, come next door with us." So we walk in the club. I walk in, the girl's like real nice, real sweet, pay my cover, get in. Two of the guys said, "You got to be dressed in black." It's an all dressed in black club, and it's always like that. It's not just like a weekend thing. It's always you got to be dressed in black. So I think three of us were dressed in black and two weren't, or three or four was dressed in black and two weren't. But it was an insane place. And then all of a sudden it was 2 o'clock and it was over. And like, what? Two? What? So in New Orleans, you don't even go out till midnight.
That's pretty normal in most places that I've
Yeah, but
lived
see, the problem
anyways.
is in most places they close at 2 a.m. New Orleans don't close; they're open 24 hours most of the time.
Oh, at all. See, New York, it was 4 a.m. When I lived in Buffalo, which makes for a really long night. I mean, it's like the
So
fights escalate and stuff. The more
So
the
for
more
you
drunk you
wimpy
get.
people that live in the United States, I'll tell you what an average drinking night is for a New Orleanian. So about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, they all go out and have dinner, some decent place, go have a good dinner. And then usually 8 or 9 o'clock, they'll pop into one of the local bars and have a couple of drinks and get walking. Then they go to the clubs. Now, if they're planning on dancing, there are several really good clubs that you can go dancing. And so they'll start hitting those and working their way through. Well, about 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, everybody's hungry. So they either hit some of the good food joints, or a lot of the clubs serve breakfast, or well, food, not necessarily breakfast, and it's free if you're in the club. So a lot of people will hit those. But regardless, everybody gets their second win. Most people, it's why everybody carries sunglasses with it, because most people won't get out of the club until noon. Every time you walk out, your eyes are like, "What? It's what? It's wait, what time is it? Oh shit, I'm going home." Everybody says the
That's
same.
like casinos.
Yeah, well, it actually is like casinos, because casinos do the same thing to you. They don't have any without any windows or anything in it, no clocks. You kind of lose track of
Mm-hmm.
time, and it's really fast. When you're losing a lot of money or winning a lot of money, you'd be surprised how fast them clocks go by. Do I
Oh my
gamble lately?
goodness.
Not lately. I do gamble, but not lately. And no, I don't
When I
gamble
was a
stupidly.
dealer, it seemed to go by very slowly when
Oh
I
yeah,
was
because that's a
taking
whole different
when I
thing.
was
That's
taking
work.
people's money.
Yeah, that's a whole different. And if it's not an exciting table with some crazies on it, it does go real by slow. I know. I was in one night. This is about 15 years ago. I was walking through with my wife and a friend of mine, and I'd been drinking pretty good, and I'd been winning all night. So I started. I said, "You know what? I'm gonna play some slots." So I sit down, slot 3 red 7s. Go to the next machine, 3 red 7. My friend Mike was just getting pissed. I didn't hit 14, 15 of those. I'm up like 17, $18,000. I said, "Well, I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go hit the tables. So I'm gonna go play some 21." I go sit down and start playing. I'm hitting. I mean, I'm tripling, I'm making money hand over hitting the girl. They came and relieved the dealer like they like to do and changed the deck. So I got it from
Yeah.
the tailor. He says, "Where are you going?" I said, "Sorry, dudes. I like the deal. I like the deck. You're changing them out of here." And he's like, "Oh, how do you know? How do you?" I said, so I went down the road, started playing high low, whatever it's called, down the thing. And I was finally, my good friend goes, "We got to leave. They're going to arrest us." I said, "They're going to arrest us. I'm not winning any real money." I said, I'm going to leave here with, 20, 30, something like that. And but I'm not even lucky one. My wife Linda was. She was the one that was always winning. She'd win. First time she ever gambled casino, she won a freaking car.
Oh
And
my.
I'm like, come
See,
on.
I'm never ever lucky. I don't gamble, but even, when I've played before, I never win anything, but everyone around me wins everything. And I'm like,
That
I'm going to
sucks.
start charging. Yeah, I'm going to start charging like a,
Look.
they'd rub my head and stuff, being the redhead of the group.
Yeah, so let me steal some luck.
Yeah,
It's
but
well,
I
you know,
never
it's a
won.
weird
So.
thing. It's I've never won anything. I wouldn't say anything really big. I've hit some here, hit some there, and we've gotten lucky. You know, without friends, or Lynn's gotten lucky. Different people we've been with gotten lucky. Sometimes I see my stepdaughters get really lucky, but it's nobody's ever won other than the car. Nobody's won anything really big. And I mean, the car was probably only like 30 or 40 grand. And boy, you gotta watch them though. They hit you for the taxes when you pick up the
I
car.
was gonna say, is it like I didn't know if casinos did that too, like game shows? Like,
Yeah.
people would go out to California on like The Price is Right or whatever, and um, win the cars, and then they would be transported by their local dealership, but they wouldn't realize they had to pay the sales tax and stuff on them. I'm like, that's kind of
Well,
shitty. That's
what's funny is though in Mississippi, you pay sale tax when you go get your tag. So here they can't
yeah,
keep it. They have to release the car to the person because there's no way for them to go pay the sales tax until they have the tags.
right.
You know, so
That's how it is here.
yeah,
You have like
yeah. So,
I don't know, 60 or 90 days.
but it's ridiculous, Mary. Finally, my car's like 5 years old now. I think four. I don't know. Anyway, it's finally down. It's like $100. It started out was like I think it was 4,700, and it was 2,700, and then it was 500, and it
Yeah.
was 200. I think last year was like 150. I was like, Jesus, people, you just ripping me. How many times can you charge me for a sale tax? Oh, it's the value
Right.
of your car, sir. I'm like, is that what you're telling us? I'm going to buy me a used car. I said, that's it. I'll go find something pretty, maybe a Lexus or something, but I ain't getting that worth any money anymore. And I really wouldn't mind if anybody wants to buy me a Beamer, a nice Beamer, one of them black ones. Oh yeah, I'm all in for that. Yes, I got a couple of hosts on the network. I'll trade you for a good Beamer. If any
You're
Arabs over there
ridiculous.
listening, I'm just saying, if any of you Arabs over there listening tonight, we can make a deal. And, no, I like Trish. We're keeping her. But we got some other ones that we could do. Yeah, I had no
Sometimes.
problem. No, she's a good host. I like to pick on her. She's a good host. Yeah, she's got endearing qualities. How's that? I don't. You know what? I ain't answer you no more. You know what? Where we at? You can come to UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube. There you go. Yes, because if you're going to keep spamming with questions, you need to come in the chat room. No, I'll answer some from Messenger, but if you're going to keep spamming, you need to come in the chat room. I don't know. Let me stick out my tongue at you.
Because I can't see them either.
Well, no, because it's all my messages. This is a weird thing for me. So, and the girls love to give me trouble, especially Michelle and Amelia. They love to give me trouble about this. So, a long time ago, many moons ago, when Trish was just a little girl about yay tall, we had Yahoo Chat. Okay, Yahoo Chat.
I had Yahoo Chat.
So it was UFO Alien Phenomena Group on Yahoo Chat. And before that was something else. But anyway, I mean, this is many moons, at least 20 something years ago. So we started this big group over there. I think it was like 24 years ago. And I met a lot of friends. That's how one of our iCar got started, was from that group. But anyway, we got used to chatting as a group. So all of a sudden,
Okay.
the
First of all,
spam bots
explain what
took over.
iCar is, because
Well,
some of
iCar is
my
international.
listeners are different than.
Yes, iCar is an international community for alien research, and we will come back to that. But it's so these people, we started getting all these spam and things coming in. You didn't have any control. People would take the mics over and stuff. So we decided to leave. We were going to Fire Chat, but all of a sudden it turned into Pal Talk. So we got on Pal Talk. We had a huge group on Pal Talk, but still only about a third of the Yahoo group came. They bitched, they moaned. They go, oh, it's blue. Oh, there's admins. Oh, there's. We'll just stay the hell over there on YouTube. And when it blows up into nothing, which they don't have YouTube chat anymore, by the way, or AOL chat for that matter either. Well, I shouldn't have said AOL. It tells you how old I am. Shit. but anyway,
ICQ.
Oh God, yes, ICQ. I remember ICQ too. And but no. Anyway, they get over there, they get used to it. Well, then when we moved the station around, all Facebook came out and all this other stuff came out. It kind of spread everything out. So some people would stay on, and some people would stay on Pal Talk. Some would stay here. And it got to the where it was too diversified. It was too big of a pain in the ass. So we don't open the chat room on YouTube. I mean on Pal Talk anymore. So most of the people come to my messenger. Michelle DeRoche, who's our manager of the station, she bitches because she wants y'all to come into one of the YouTube chats or the Facebook chats and use it like that. But y'all still like to use the messenger, which is fine by me. But she don't like it. She likes to see y'all. She wants to be able to answer the question too. Mm-hmm.
Well, and
This
some
is
of
one
them,
thing.
so Facebook doesn't always show, um, if I'm not logged into my
Hello.
Facebook group page, it doesn't always show the chats that people, they don't come through on our
Yeah, it's
um
weird. It does that sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes I see people. Sometimes I don't. Hey, Raymond. It's a really weird thing the way it does. And sometimes, like the Facebook pages are busier than other times, just like the YouTube. Oh no, Mike. Nobody listens to us on YouTube. YouTube is we only. You know what we keep YouTube for? You want to be totally honest. There are. I mean, we do have some listeners over there, but we use it as a backup for our video feeds. We have two of them over there, and they really
an
use it for the
archive.
backups. Yeah, so in case something goes madly wrong somewhere or something blows up or something, we use them as a backup for our video feeds. Yep, that's what we use them for. We had one really good monetized. United Public page was doing great, was making all kind of good money, and then one day they said, "Oh well, your player ran over like 4 times, so we got to ban you from ever using, from ever using it again." I'm like, what? I still don't know what the hell they were talking about. I wrote to them a dozen times, called them. Nobody would ever tell me what the hell it was. So I filed a suit on them for stealing intellectual property. Oh no, that's still going. That's going to be probably another 2 years. Yeah. Well, we'll get something out of it. Eventually, they'll settle it.
I swear, I think everyone does that to our station because, and it happens so often. And people say, no, 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 it's just based on current events of the world and blah blah blah. No, so you'll see unique stuff posted or the hosts have on our channel, our station,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, like a month later, people start spitting that out in the exact order. Okay. I
It's
mean,
it's
yes.
it
Like
is
we're
weird
all
because
a bunch of
what
mixed nuts, but
well no we have a good lineup amongst the networks and the hosts. In the old days when we first started the station, we only did UFO stuff. Anybody who was anybody followed us, including Coast to Coast. You could go on there and my show, every week show I had on UFO on the cover was on them that week, but not just us. Some of our other hosts, like the Eye to the Sky host, and she was D. Andrew and a couple of the other ones. They followed those shows because we were 7 different shows, 7 main UFO shows with the rest of the network, but those shows were being followed because they were good. They got talked about a lot. The guests really liked them. The audience was really good. See, it's a little different now. We lost something with the new stuff. So in the old days, people got to come. Did it drop me? What the hell happened?
uh I haven't touched it. I think we lost Joe. Can you hear me, Joe? No?
Okay,
Yes?
I can hear you.
There we go.
Obviously, I bumped something. I don't know, people. I bumped something. I'm not sure what the hell I bumped. Um,
I could hear
I,
you.
I don't know. I touched something. I was like, okay, where did I go? Where did I go? Where did I go? What was I saying before we got bumped? Something about the old days. I know that. People, when I
Probably
say
something
old
you weren't
days,
supposed to be saying. That's why you got bumped.
it might have been. Oh man. No, when I say old
So,
days, I mean before the days of dust. What?
yes, I was just thinking, it's funny you should mention that because I was just thinking of all the times, I've I've watched your show and I've heard about the beginnings of ICAR and UPRN and such. I was thinking I don't know why this hasn't come up. You've shared abduction stories from like 20 years ago and things like that. But what about the very young Joe?
Or you mean they're very
Like
young?
like before dust, literally. So I was thinking about that. Have you had experiences, from what age? What age did you become even interested in UFO research and such?
Oh, I was old. I was like, for me, it was different because there wasn't anybody like me out there to inform people on what to look for. So it was strange. I used to have a lot of weird abilities when I was young. I was very telepathic, very empathic. Had a couple other things that I found a little strange. I always knew who was coming to the house. I always knew who was knocking on the door. I always knew who was on the telephone. It was just, but most of my family was like that. So I never really thought about it. My mom, we'd be going somewhere. Oh, and she, somebody would be doing. She said, "We got to go back home. Grandma did this. Grandma did that." We didn't have cell phones back then. I'm thinking, okay, we get
Yeah.
back. She did exactly what she said. Then somebody be knocking at the door. Oh, it's the guy bringing this or bringing that. Go get it. And I was like, that's who it was. And or my favorite was, and what were you doing at that little girl's house the other day, Joe? I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, because I'm like 9 at this time, 9 or 10. Like, what are you talking about? You and your little friend such and such went over and it went and visited that little girl. What were y'all doing? Anything I need to know about? I'm like, Mom. Really, that's how I was. I was like, Mom, we's over there watching TV. I was like, oh my God. I had no idea what she was thinking about back then. I was, people are still
I do
naive
that to
who ever
my
wrote
son
that.
now.
Jesus. Now, when I got to be older, 15, 16, I'd love this. I'd be getting ready to go somewhere. She said, remember, I know what you're doing, boy. Like, no, you don't. She said, just keep it up. I know what you're doing. I was like, no way, man. I was like, stop it. I was like, oh my God, I said, Mom, you're damaging me. I said, stop it. She's like, oh no, no, no. I was like, no, yes, Mom, you're damaging me. But she always knew where the hell I was. And I'd go places with friends of mine that I know she didn't know about or didn't know who I was with. And she'd just show up there, like if I was late or something. I'm like, how in the
I
hell?
do that.
I'm like, how the
I do
hell do
that
you
with
know
my
where I'm
son.
at? Oh,
God,
it's like,
it's
then when I got older,
just
I was the
we
same
know.
way with mine. Yeah, I knew where mine was.
Yeah.
He'd get furious. And I'd look at him all the time. I said, boy, only thing don't lie to me. I don't care. There's a lot of things you can get away with, but don't lie to me, Joe. You know I'm going to know. And so he tries not to. He slips up every once in a while, but he's
It's
old
funny,
now.
kids nowadays, they have like this Life 360 or whatever, and people, there's multiple different parent apps where you can show the location, based on your kid's phone. And I'm like, my kids keep trying to get me, or well, my sister and,
Yeah.
other relatives that have older kids, older teenagers than mine. And I'm like, what do I need that for? I just, and like, I don't even need a phone. I'll just show up wherever they're like, wherever they're at. I don't need an app.
Yeah, my
But
Joe was always like, how do you know I was here? How do you know? I'm like, Dad knows everything. Get your ass home, boy.
yep. But did you
But
have um I guess UFO experiences specifically?
it was because
Um
those were always strange. So for me as a young person, so where I'm living right now is so it's just a weird story. I'll try to make it fast, people, because I don't want to kill a bunch of our time. But so right now I live in a place called Pass Christian, Mississippi. It's on the Gulf Coast, beautiful place. I live in Mohali Bayou on Mimosa Street. It's a beautiful area to live in. So about 175 yards from where I live to the what would that be, the southwest, my family almost drowned. Me, my mom, my dad. Okay, so it's Hurricane Camille. I'm sorry, it's Hurricane Betsy. And we got a camp in Pass Christian Isles, which is about, I don't know, quarter mile from where I'm at right now, give or take half mile, probably a quarter mile. So we stayed there, stayed too long. We had a big, huge white Cadillac. So we're trying to get out. Well, we get up on the road, you get up on the bridge, and a wave comes in and just sweeps the car. It was taking the car out into the bay, into the Gulf. So I could hear the panic in my dad's, and I was only like 5, but I could hear the panic in my dad's voice. And I was like, oh shit. And my mom was already deathly scared of water to start off with. So you could feel the car starting to flip. It's kind of arcing because the waves pushing it. And then all of a sudden you just get thrown back down. And I was like, what? There's no water in the car yet at all. I'm like, what the hell? We caught a chain link fence wrapped around the exhaust of the car as it was being pushed into the Gulf. So the fence actually sits where the
wow.
beach was. So I was like, I didn't know what it was at the time. I had no idea. I just knew the car was stopped. So my dad got out of the car, The car starting to fill it with water, and it was weird because you had to get those lights in the door. The water was above those lights, but they were still on. You could see the white and red light in the water. It was just weird. So my dad put my mom out on top of the car, and he put me out on top of the car. I said, "Look, I'm gonna be right back. I got to go get some help. There's no way I can take both of y'all." Because my mom, she was just, I'm sure she was just freaking out. So we sat there, and I couldn't tell you how long it was. My mom swears it was forever. I really just don't know. And then all I remember is I looked up and I see my dad and two other men kind of half swimming in the water. It was about an eyeball high. And I remember taking it back, and I remember waking up to some stupid cartoons on a TV show on somebody's couch. I had no idea where the hell I was. And so it's just weird. It's so close. Well, if you go 200 yards to the left of there, we're sitting out there one night on the beach. My son goes, "Oh, my bug-eyed friends are coming." And I look over and I'm like, "What?" I just right there, I was like, "What?" And we look back and you can see this thing lifting out of the water. Water's just rolling over it. And it's just so freaky. And it just kind of sat over the thing glowing white for a few minutes. And then it just started, it didn't tilt. It just started moving towards us. It comes over us, and there was two state troopers running a radar trap right there. And it sat over the state troopers for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. And so I'm watching all of this. I'm freaking out watching all this. I got my camera in my hand. It ain't doing diddly squat. I had one of them high video recorders. It ain't. Oh, it's getting its fuzz. I can tell because I'm watching it. And so stupid me, I go running over there. Oh, what the hell? What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? I get over there, and the cop freaks when he sees me. He's going for his gun. I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm about to die. And I said, "Did you see what happened?" He said. And he looked at his friend. He looked back at me. He said, "We can't talk about this, man. Dude, nobody, we can't talk about this." And they both said that for about 20 minutes. I said, "Well, okay. I just want to get y'all's names for later in the future if there's ever a problem." I said, "I'll give you mine." And they left, went their ways, and I left and went my way. Didn't really notice it until we got back to the house in New Orleans. It was daylight when we got home. Now, we'd only left at New Orleans is an hour drive from where we are right now. That's it. It's an hour drive. So we left the house. I think it was like 5:30, maybe 4:30. It was just starting to get dark outside. And we got up here. It was dark. And it's one of our favorite places to go sit. It's right across the street from where we live now. Yeah. And we got home, and it's daylight. That's almost, I think it was at least 12 hours, maybe 14 hours, just gone. So I called the trooper because I had his number, and I explained. I said, did you? And he said, "I do." He said, "My partner is freaking out." He said he wants to go see a psychiatrist. I said, "For what?" I said, "Look, I can tell you what happened." I said, "You ain't going to like it." And him and I talked for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours. Off and on. We'd get off, he'd get off, he'd come back, and we'd get back on, and we'd talk, and his friend get into conversation. We three-way. And we talked and talked about it. And then finally, we all three came to the same conclusion. Do we really want to know what happened? Meanwhile, Linda's she's off in a whole nother world. She's like, "I'm going to go kick some alien's ass or something." It was insane. And it was a freaky thing. That's not even close the first time. But when I was a little kid, all I remember is bits, glimpses, pieces, strange lights, weird things going on. Like when I was young, my grandpa used to come throw a rock at my window because we bought some property on the North Shore. And we used to go over there. He'd come by like 5:30 in the morning, wake me up, and we'd go work on the farm all day. And then come back home. There's a couple of times I was sitting up waiting for him because I was hyper. And I'd see like white lights, and I'd run out on the porch because I'm thinking, oh, it's his truck. And it's something in the sky going by. And and then I was really fascinated with UFOs. I remember when the boys in Pascagoula got picked up. A couple of days later, about a week later, the military starts putting pink and blue and green clouds in the sky trying to attract UFOs. I was thinking, wait, what? And I'm about 11 at this point. 11, but still, it never really dawned on me. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the service. And I'm talking to these guys flying these jets, because that's what I used to do as an Airedale. Aviation electronics specialist, first class. I was advanced electronics is what I was. So I got to work everyone in the ship. But anyway, I talked to these pilots. These pilots would tell me shit that would curl the hair in the back of your neck. I mean, close encounters, things that you like. The guy, one guy, I remember this F-18 pilot, him and I are talking. He said, Joe, I'm cruising. He said, about Mach 1.5. I'm wide open. I got my weapons hot. I'm headed right for this thing. He said, and all of a sudden it just jumped right really close in front of me. He said, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't even pull up. And I remember going right through it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it was a hologram. He said, then it took off and it left a wake that pushed me almost flipped my plane over. He said, I didn't even know what to think. He said it was like it phased out for a minute and came back. These pilots used to have stories about different kind of UFOs they saw. And even then, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And even when I was in my teens, I had a couple girls I knew or were dating that told me they had had weird alien experiences. I was like, whatever. And then I had got a career going, and people would come in and like when I was supervising or when I was training manager, they'd come in and out of the blue, they'd just tell me all kind of shit about their lives and how they thought this might be. I mean, they didn't know me from being. I'm the guy standing there looking at the guy in the register going, what the hell's going on? And they're just pouring it out. Then some people I knew told me some stuff which kind of weirded me out. My dentist, who was a very popular, very wealthy woman. I was like, what? While I was sitting in the chair, she told me this. She said, oh, I'm going to freak you out. And I was just kind of like, and then I was at a party with a friend of mine. I was 19, I think, at the time. His mom is a local politician, an important one. She comes down, sits down by me. She had a little buzz. She puts her arm around me, starts talking to me. And she starts telling me about this alien abduction. And by this point, I've had 100 women or so and about 10 guys tell me this kind of stuff. I'm barely 20, still hadn't met my wife yet. I was like, what the hell? And then I said, okay. We're going to find out what the bleep is going, because I didn't believe it. I really thought all these people should go get tested. There was something wrong with them. There was really something really bad. Even though I was very gifted and I had a lot of abilities I couldn't explain, I still didn't believe it. And,
how old were you at that time?
19.
Okay.
So I joined MUFON. Then I met Linda and she joined MUFON. And we start researching all over the effing place. You get hold to it. I got hold to some other researchers in MUFON. We found every abduction case we could find worldwide. It came out to about 5,000. It took us a year to find them all. And we did a comparison study. Abduction criteria is what we call it today. And we went through it to find the similarities in these cases. And we went through all the cases. And so we found out what could be a legit case and what could not be a legit case. But even then, I'm thinking this must be some kind of psychological thing. And at least now we've isolated these kind of people are the ones doing it. Well, when I say that, there's no kind of people. Politicians, lawyer, dentist, policemen, bums on the street, prisoners. It doesn't make a difference. They're in every walk of life. And it does seem to be a nice even spread. So at this point, I'm kind of like, damn, this is just hard to ignore. And then Gulf Breeze, Florida comes along. We were going on vacation with a 12-day vacation plan, just cruising down the coast of Florida, the Panhandle. We were going to go to a few different hotels, go to a few different beaches, and just spend. We'd been working our asses off, just spend the next 12 days going down the beach. So we get there. The first night we're there, we meet the team from Unsolved Mysteries. They're staying at the Sand Dunes Hotel where we're staying. They had the suite across from us. So we get to talking, and I had told the guy about some stuff we'd seen. He's telling us some stuff, and they said, we're down for this. They say this ship keeps coming through. So we go out with them that night, and there's a fishing pier next to the two bridges. We're sitting on this fishing pier. All of a sudden, you see this green light off in the bay, just cruising. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? It changes colors. It goes underneath the railroad bridge, comes under the fishing pier, goes under. Wait, let me get that. I got that backwards. It goes under the fishing pier, under the car bridge, and then under the railroads, and then it gets out past it about 150 yards, and it stops.
Nope.
And we're like, okay. And now remember, we got new film crews out there. Everybody who's there is there for this event. It's about 400 people. The mayor's out there. There's all kind of policemen out there. I mean, this is a big event. And so we're all watching this. And then this thing just slowly comes out of the water. It starts looking like it's like liquid gold running off of it, like just gold droplets dropping off in the water. And we're just watching, everybody's just, and it's completely deathly quiet. For some reason, you don't see any cars crossing the bridge. You don't see anything. And it's just, and it just, poof, it's gone. Everybody's like, what the fuck? I mean, everybody's looking at, nobody got any pictures. Just funny as hell. It looked like one guy got some kind of thing as it puffed, but other than that, there was a lot of audio, mind you, that was shh. And
Yeah.
so it was crazy. So the guy who runs the Gulf Breeze Journal was out there. He's just writing away and writing away. So I said, well, it was a great fun experience. I'm on my way. So we go check into the hotel at Opal Beach. We pull in, we booked a place for, I think it was like 9 or 10 days. I think it was 10 days. And we go out, and I said, okay, we bought a bunch of stuff and we're staying there. My car's parked there. So we check into the hotel. We had the kid with us. We go out on the beach that night. We're out just catching crabs. And Joe's walking around between Linda and I, probably about 10, 15 feet away. So Linda out there in the water with him. Dolphin came by and bumped her, scared the crap out of her. So she's getting further out and they're walking. So they're about, at this point, they're, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet away from it. The light got really brilliant in the water, like somebody had dropped some kind of flare. It was just really, really brilliant. And at that point, we don't remember anything. Now, since then, we've actually recovered a lot of memories, but I still remember this. Is so weird. So the morning, I get up that morning. I think it's the morning. I get up, I walk into the hotel place. I said, you know what? We had such a good time last night. We're just going to go ahead and take the other 2-day deal and stay an extra 2 days. And, and that way, for 8 or 9 days from then, the girl just looked at me like, where have you been? I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, they've been in your room every day. No one stayed in your bed. They've, the room service has been there every day. The maid service. She said, your car hasn't moved. She said, I'll show you the video. She said, no one has come in or out of your room since the day you checked in. And this is day 10. So this is the day they would have been throwing us out. And I was like, what? And really, I think this, I'm kind of giving this girl a hard time now because I just think she's just effing with me. I mean, that's what I really did. So I walked back. So I said, well, here, let me pay you for the next 2 days. She said, can I talk to you more? I said, yes, but let me go. So I walked back to the hotel room. I flip on the TV, and sure enough, it's 10 going on 11 days. I'm like, what? I mean, I just didn't know what to think about. So I said, well, maybe we're doing stuff so much that we forgot. I checked all my cash. I hadn't spent any cash at all. None of my credit cards had any cash
Well, I
on
mean,
it.
that's good at least. 12-day vacation.
My car was sitting exactly where I left it. The same amount of gas was in it. Mileages was the same. And I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? That was it for me. I got so deep in investigation like that. There's several times in the early days, I'm lucky I didn't get divorced. That all it's later on, but still, it's
So let me ask you this. Now that I've remembered a lot of my experiences of missing time as well, and hearing other stories like yours, do you think that you were actually physically taken somewhere for those 10 days? Or do you think that you were interacting with these beings in a different dimension for 10 days?
Well, it could have been both. So I'll tell you some. Well, oh wait, I left out something from that night anyway. So while we were out there, we were standing on the beach talking, and there was two guys, a big pier out there, one of them public piers, and there was two guys standing on the end of the pier. This is how this all started, by the way. We were watching these guys, and it was looked like somebody took a big glow stick and threw it out in the water, one of them green ones that was bobbing. But it was right under the water. It wasn't bobbing out of the water. It was just bobbing. And I was like, what the hell is that? It must be weighted. And we're watching it bobbing as it gets closer to the pier. All of a sudden, these two guys just panic, start screaming, and just haul ass off the pier. That's when the light came, and that's when we didn't remember anything until under hypnosis. And then it didn't even take much after the first hypnosis. The stuff just started pouring out of our heads. But still. So what really happened that night was We were standing on the beach. She came walking back up. When we seen the guys, the it looked like a door just opened up, and I still remember this. They grabbed Linda and the kid, and I went to run. And when I did, I remember there was 4 or 5 guys. They were military. They weren't aliens. They were in black shoes, black pants, black duckbill hat. They were standing. And I was special forces. I lost my cool. I was knocking people down, rolling people over, kicking people. I was putting up a serious fight. I was not going without a fight. And I just remember collapsing, which means somebody used some type of drug. I just went. Phew. And I remember being weighted down. And then I remember waking up, sitting in a chair, and Linda was sitting there, and little Joe was sitting across from us, but he was kind of out of it. And I remember looking up, and there was a room with a bunch of people in it in a line, and the 2 guys we had seen in the pier were in the line. And I remember the redheaded doctor. They had this. It's a chamber. It had 8 seats in it. They were typical for gynecological exams, the stirrups, the whole 9 yards. And I remember that whole scene and the 8 women that were in there. I still can remember the 8 women's faces, which, by the way, I have met 6 of. And if you count Linda,
Oh
7
wow.
of. So it's really strange how that worked out. I guess it just stayed in my head, or maybe there was some kind of weird connection. But regardless, I still remember that. And then I remember we were standing there, and this 5-foot gray was standing there, and these other 2 aliens walked in, and like they were scared of the gray, which, I was always taught that the grays were subservient to the other races. Come to find out, that is not true. That was some old wives' tale of some bullshit. That wasn't even close to true. These guys were horrified of this gray, like they could melt their brains if they got too crazy. So anyway, it was a strange thing. And then the more we delved into it, the more we found out. And then there came a point where we didn't want to know anymore. And there's been a couple of times over the years when weird, crazy shit has happened to us where we went to a point, and then after that point, we didn't want to know anymore. There's been a couple of times out in Honey Island Swamp on the NASA base. Yes, and being on NASA base is asking for trouble, but sometimes it's we brought 15 people out there one night from different parts of the country because they were down here working for Katrina, and everybody saw the same thing. We even got some videotape of that. We got what looked to be not an SR-71, a 3B, a TR-3B, cruising along, and it looked like there was some type of silver saucer following behind it. And behind that were 2 F-18s and an F-16 escorting it. They were bringing it on the NASA base because that's where we were. We were deep inside of NASA, about 12 miles in the swamp. And they don't expect anybody to be back there at 3 in the morning. And we were out there
Right.
looking for ships is what we were doing. And we just happened to catch it. I still remember Canuck. He's from somewhere up north in Canada. He's like, I can't. That's all he said for like 25 minutes. And that was strange. And then we left. 3 of us left. We were going to go catch up with the group. We left. We get in the car. I told Jason, my friend Jason, why don't you drive? I'm tired. And I said, no, better not. You don't know where yet. So I'm cruising. And where's the exit? Somehow or another, we went past the exit, came back past the exit, and we're going back past the exit again. I don't even explain to you what the hell was going on there. It was
Yeah.
It was a very strange experience. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I've done so many cases where, especially with females who have been put on display at military groups for different reasons.
I was just about to say that. I was going to say one of my, and I've had over the last 10 years, maybe tons of memories come back, that were repressed. But one from the time I was probably 18, probably when I went to college, to like 25, I had this memory, and I'm like, it was so real to me. I know it wasn't a dream. I know this actually happened, but I was like all of a sudden taken from my room, and I was in the middle of it. Well, let's see, what wars would we have been in back then? It would have been like after 9/11, and so it would have been Iraq, Afghanistan, places like that. But I was in the middle of a war zone basically with US Marines, and I specifically remember it. And here I am, like in my pajamas when everybody else is in, complete soldier like military uniforms, but we're like in this desert type area in another country. and I'm terrified. And I kept having that was one of the first things that I thought I was going crazy because, at that time I had no interest. I Being abducted or something like that, even by the government, was literally the last thing on my mind. I had no interest in anything like that.
Done with you on
I was
that.
like a freshman in college. And that's the last part. I mean, I was terrified, and I was like trying to beat these people off of me. And I was the only girl, of course, and there's all these soldiers, and literally
Hey, hey, hey! Remember, this is only a PG
I have
17 rated
nothing.
show.
Yes, I have nothing against no, no, no. But I mean, I was confused as to why, like, it was the middle of a firefight basically. But here I am, like, dropped there in my PJs, like at nighttime,
What they
right? There's
call
like
neutral observers.
mortars going off and stuff in the background. You know what I mean? And it was so uh I was like, no, no, but why would I have dreamt that or thought I always thought that back then until obviously now that I know that whole process, and I was terrified, and they're just looking at me like this is normal. Like, this girl's dropped in here from,
If
like,
it's a mill crew, they would think that anyway. I mean, it's weird. Over the years, I've made contacts with people who do military abductions on them, and still to this day, I get phone calls and letters because people always think I'm in charge of them. I'm like, I'm not. It all started on a night on Coast to Coast. I was on Coast to Coast one night, and some guy called and he said, "Well, I need to talk to Joe." And I was like, "Okay." And it wasn't. He got off the subject. And I was like, "Wait, he's not talking about military abductions." He said, "I heard you and Melinda Leslie a couple of months back on the show talking about it." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Joe, we all know you're the guy in charge. Stop it." I said, "I'm not in charge." I said, "Do you realize how much money I'd have if I was the guy running the military?" I said, "I'd have a big old 55,000 square foot house. I'd have servants all over the place. I'd be catered everything." He said, "No, you can't be like." I said, "Oh yeah, I would be, man, because I'd be like an equal to a general at least." I'm like, "No, don't stop putting that on me." "Well, I've seen you make him stop before." I said, "Well, that's only partially true. You can always request it, or you can always. I always tell contactees to do the same thing. If you're seriously having a problem and you really are a contactee, ask the alien that abducts you to please get rid of the military abductions. And guess what? They usually will. Yeah, they don't
Yeah,
want they don't want they don't want to see harm brought to their abductees. If any harm is going to be done to their abductees, it's going to come from them. Oh
yes,
yeah, oh yeah. That's how that shit works. And that's really
yes,
only from about age 14 to about age 29, 28, 29.
or
Well,
40
no,
like me,
it's
because
well,
I
no,
didn't know
no,
you
that's
could do that.
well, no. So the funky stuff usually happens from puberty to right around 30. Now, there's all kind of other stuff that goes on after 30, but it's different for different people and whatever the program may be for that person or whatever the interest that person. See, the bad part is for a lot of contactees is they forget. They'll be on the craft and they'll be, oh yeah, okay, and they start working deals, or they've gotten unscared enough that they want to walk around the ship, or they want to talk to other people who are scared of stuff like that, keepers and things like that. And so, you get useful, so you get abducted more. I'm just saying,
Yes,
you might want to
yeah.
think about that. But and something else, ladies and gentlemen, while we're on this subject, for anybody who thinks they're an alien contactee, I'll give you two simple pieces of advice. One, don't go public. Two, don't get hypnotized. And the reason why is once you get hypnotized, you can't put the bitch back in the box. I'm just telling you now. Anybody
Yeah.
who's ever lived with a bitch understands what I'm saying. You can't put the bitch backs in the box. So you can't do it. It's just not something you can do. You can't forget their memories. They're stuck in your head for life now.
With me, I had
And,
never been hypnotized, but they led me a higher, I don't know, being than the military and whatever had been happening to me, led me to get my hypnosis certification, my clinical
mm,
hypnosis so I would realize what was happening to me, probably
mhm.
to protect myself. They're probably like, she's just gonna let them kill her. She's just
Well,
gonna
that's
let
good to know. It's good to know about the hypnosis, because especially if you need to be hypnotized or if you're going to hypnotize, it's just good to know about it all the way around. And then of course, if you go public, ladies and gentlemen, and you're somebody who can go public that may have maybe you've seen operations of a ship, or maybe you've been in certain parts of the ship that the government might be interested, or maybe you've heard about programs you think you're getting millabbed. Okay, I'm just telling you now. You go on coast to coast and you start running your mouth about, oh, I did this, I did that. They're coming for your ass, and there's nothing nobody can do about it. Now the alien might get pissed off and do something about it later on, but at that point, you're getting taken. That's just the end of that. I tell people all the time, be very sure, because some of these people, what kills me about some of these people is they're not really abductees. They think they are, and then they go run their mouth about all this crazy story, and then they get millabbed, and then they're like, wait, yeah, and
Yeah.
then the government finds out it's not true, and then they'll tell them, government just drop you in a ditch somewhere. Um, it happens, people. You
That's
can't go
yeah,
around running and saying what happened to yourself. Besides,
well,
people think you're crazy anyway.
and for me, it was I'm even the same way with groups that want to. They're like, I want to be abducted by whoever, military or whoever. I want to go find these, and I'm like, okay,
Have
listen,
fun.
like that's basically whether you're going out looking at the night sky and trying to, contact aliens and extraterrestrials, or if you're going to the ocean, it doesn't matter. That's the same as like you don't know what's in that forest. You don't know what's in that ocean for that matter. Like we haven't even discovered or explored half of the ocean for that matter. So just imagine something from all of the universe coming back to like I don't understand it. Not only the good ones are going to come, it's the same with
Well,
paranormal.
you shouldn't give me trouble because I'm Bob, and I will come for your ass in the middle of the night. Bob, bad.
But
Bob is
that's what I'm
bad.
saying.
He's gotten
Like
bad.
if you go, just call out to it, same with people trying to find Bigfoot, and then they draw in a grizzly bear, and they're like, "Oh shit! Like how'd that happen? Well, we didn't expect." Oh, okay, it's the forest, people. Like we,
It's the forest.
it's not
What?
just so it's dangerous.
Who has? Yeah, no, really, no. That's a real alien skull. They gave me that to prove that they were real. Yes, they did. Well, yeah, it's a real skull. Come by and see it. you know what? I got some really good land for sale too. If you come by, oh yeah. Don't mind the water on top of it right now, but it's good. That is a replica. Okay, I don't know. Real quick, what's his name? Lloyd Pye. I met Lloyd Pye a long time ago. He's a local New Orleanian. He was living in Pensacola. Lloyd Pye is the one who had the alien Star Child skull. So he calls me up one night because I'm trying to get an interview with him. Well, I'd already talked to him in air a few times, but I was trying to get to see the alien skull. So he calls me up one night. He said, "Take me to dinner at this Thai restaurant, and I'll bring the skull with me." So he brings the replica of the skull the first time, and I guess because we're in a restaurant. And I'm looking at this thing. It's way bigger than our skulls. Way, way bigger. It's way different shape. And it doesn't look like a mutation. It doesn't look like anything odd on it. It looks like this is, it's all uniform. It looks like the way it should look, like any skull would look that didn't have defects. So we talked about it in great detail. We talked about a mini show. So then I forgot where we were. We were at a conference, and we were out having dinner. He breaks out the real one. So this skull is, I'm not kidding y'all guys. It's about yay big, about yay big. I pick it up. It feels like it weighs, I don't know, 4 ounces. And you can see these weird honeycombs in it. And he said, "Go ahead and hit it." I said, "No, I'll break it." He said, "Go ahead and bang it on the table." This shit is like super strong. The guy the couple of people who did the DNA studies on it, they said they actually had to get a little power chisel to get a piece off to actually do the DNA. All it
Wow.
came back is that the mother was human, and the father's DNA was uncomparable, or they couldn't tell what it was. At first, they tried to say it was a mutation, but then there was no other weirdnesses like that in the area. So recently they had done another DNA study on it, and it doesn't appear that the father has any genome ties to anything known on the planet at this time. Maybe it was a hybrid. Maybe it was like Lil and Hetrel's hybrid. They say her daughter was a hybrid. And what's great about her daughter thing is when she wrote the book, Helen's Eyes, there's actually military and government backup to this story. The FBI was actually involved with it. So was the NSA. So, and they were actually had handlers. She actually went to college. She looked different enough that even in college, people kind of, they were nice to her, but they definitely, thought she was kind of something strange. She was very skinny. Her arms were kind of linky. Um, Eyes were a little bulged. Sounded a lot like maybe a gray. And it just sounded like it, she was more of a hybrid. That's part of the missing baby syndrome. And I'm pretty sure what the missing baby syndrome was they came and took the ones that couldn't live here, that they were too different. Maybe their
Yeah.
abilities were too strong. Maybe they just looked too different. I think Helen's daughter, I think, was an experiment to see what humans would take and would understand. And in this case, and she just disappeared one night out of college. Nobody knows what happened to her. The story's real. You can check it out. There was a lot of ABC alphabet organizations involved, and they used to bring her. She had to have special food, all kind of special stuff. She had a roommate. A roommate talked about her a lot. They didn't even try to hush her up, which I thought was odd. They just let her talk. I guess they thought nobody was going to believe her. I interviewed her a couple of times. She was getting very old at the point. I think she was about 82, 84 at the time, but she did a really good interview and we talked a lot. And I have a good sense, voice stress and stuff, but I have a good sense when somebody's lying or telling the truth. I felt no malice from this woman in any shape, form, or fashion. She was very willing to take a polygraph or a voice stress. She had no problem with it at all. And and she went and got herself a polygraph, passed two of them. So, she verified it and the story. And sure enough, all of a sudden the kid just disappeared one day. She says she knows for a fact that the aliens took her, not the government. I guess they just figured she just couldn't make it here. But I think that's what happened to all those cases we interviewed in the 90s, the late 80s, throughout the 90s, and even the early 2000s. There was just cases. I'd get a call from somebody who said, I think I had an alien abduction or something. And then you get a call like 3 weeks later, I'm pregnant. Okay, so you're pregnant. Okay, why are you telling me? Maybe you should go tell your husband that you're pregnant. You don't need to be telling me. And she said, well, I've heard about these other things that have happened. And then all of a sudden we started getting these calls. I got to show you something. I got to show you something. Can I meet you somewhere? Can I, very cloak and dagger stuff. So we'd go meet them. They'd have the x-rays. They'd have the ultrasound. They have the original blood work. All showed they were pregnant. Then all of a sudden, 3 months in, the baby was gone. The hormones were back in check. There was no sign of any damage to the uterus or anything. It was doctor. All the doctors said that they couldn't understand it because at first they tried to say it was spontaneous abortion, and but it wasn't.
They
The
also
baby.
call it what did they tell me one time? Phantom.
Yeah, I've heard of something else called it that too. But the problem is
even when there was already, an ultrasound and stuff to begin with, doctors told me that my body spontaneously absorbed the embryo because it wasn't actually.
And that is something that does happen. But anytime that
but
all your
this wasn't.
hormones,
I mean,
well, you can tell. I mean, as a woman, you're going to know your hormones better than anybody else. But so, I've been around enough pregnant women to know that, at 3 months, your hormones are going in all kind of different directions. There's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of other emotions going on just besides the pregnancy. And then all of a sudden, it's not there anymore. And the thing of it is, it's just nothing. I remember the first ultrasound. I still remember this doctor. I went with her to the doctor. They were talking. She goes, well, this is the original ultrasound and this is the original x-ray. And why they did an x-ray on a baby, I'm still trying to figure out. But I was like, what the hell? And he's like, it was definitely there. He said, I don't know what to tell you. He said, I would say it was spontaneous abortion or something like that, some kind of spontaneous something. But he said, the problem is I took your blood. Your blood says you were never pregnant. There was never a baby here. All your hormones are in check. Nothing's out of balance. I see nothing, no attachment marks to the uterus. She said, I can't find anything. And the doctor was just telling her, and she didn't know what to say because the baby was just gone, and she was just like, she's very emotional. But I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, it's gone, it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. So we started saying, well, look, if you think this had something to do with aliens, and next time you think you're being taken, ask. Just put it in your
Well,
head.
so the last time I had twins taken, it was, gosh, 2018, maybe. No, 19, sorry.
I was only
Anyways,
like 7 then.
you're so cool. But at 3 months, the night before, I kept writing like I was doing automatic writing, and it kept saying, "Steal, protect yourself," and I'm like, "What does that mean?" And I thought that, and then all of a sudden there's this big flash in my window, and I woke up the next morning, and I wasn't pregnant, but they told me when they took me, they said, and this was a very I don't want to say pleasant because they were taking my children, right? But this was, and I had a premonition of this months before I was ever even pregnant. I had a dream that this beautiful, like, eh, I would say Nordic, because she was tall, had like a bluish face, very pretty. And she's explaining to me why, my babies are being, and they told me if they had not taken them, they would have been taken by humans, which could be true. It could have been that the military or whoever could have taken them later, anyways. And some of those were much less pleasant experiences. So, um, but again, any time that happened, if it was a hybrid situation, they communicated with me. The fetus did. It got to where, and it seemed like they grew so much faster than a human baby.
Well, that's something
Almost
else they
like
talk about.
in
That's
dog
that's
times, like a
yeah.
dog's only pregnant for what, like
Well, 8 weeks.
few months or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
12 weeks. I can't remember. I think it's only
But they
eight
were
weeks. But
bigger than they should have been at that, at 3 months. And they were so much more advanced, like they communicating with me.
well, we have had so many stories of people seeing their babies aboard the ships and shit like that, and um, they notify them, and then the baby starts to grow, and they allow them to see the children on board the ship. They can't come here. Um, they talk about that all the time, but eventually those children are shipped off somewhere else. I don't think they want them spending too much time with the original parent. So eventually they ship them off somewhere, but uh, it could be food. I don't know. I don't think that's what it is, though. It's an
I
awful lot of work to go through for food.
In some cases, like you said, it's too hard. I've been different all my life, on amongst people, and it gets hard. It gets hard in this in modern society, and with social programming and the education system here and such, when you're different like that. um it, Many humans don't, it's out of fear, I think. They don't accept different.
It's it. What was that? I think something go by my screen a minute ago. You know, wait, what is that? I like that Nick, whatever that is. Um, Mary Lynn, who? I don't even know how to pronounce that. Where the hell are you from, Mary Lynn? Okay, yeah, I was looking at that
I was
comment she just posted
looking
up
at
there.
mine.
Yeah, and then, well, ET loves us all. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. ET loves all abductee and contactees. The rest of you poor bastards, they don't could give a good shit about. Y'all like cannon fodder them. They don't care about y'all. It's about how much the Russians care about the people living in it. It's about that kind of thing. They don't care. Somebody asked me one time, just recently on a radio show, they go, well, Mr. Joe, actually they call him Mr. Montaldo, but still, Mr. Joe, um, why did the aliens want us? What are they here for? I'm like, that's a lot of questions. They just started rambling off on questions. But I'm like, look, he said, why don't the aliens show themselves? I don't understand. Why don't they just disclose? I said, they have disclosed. They're like, no,
They
they
do
haven't. I
all the
said, why?
time.
Yeah, I said, first off, the damn government already knows they're here. But more importantly, they disclose themselves to 1.5 billion humans. They don't give a shit if the rest of y'all believe or not. They don't care. That's what y'all don't understand. As far as they're concerned, they have disclosed to everyone that they want to disclose to. That's just how it is. They're abductees and contactees of the people that they've disclosed themselves to. The rest of y'all, see, I always get in trouble for this next comment. I don't think you can see an alien craft or a UFO if you haven't been taken. Yeah, I don't think you can. I think it's a trigger memory, and what I mean by that is it's a memory to let you know, because not all contactees and abductees see them anyway, but only a handful do. But the reason is so. Let's say you said something on board the ship, or you showed a general interest or a lack of fear, then they want you to work. And if you're willing to work along the project and help them out, then they're gonna keep you there. And that's when you see them. You'll see them. Well, you'll see like a UFO, or you might see other things. In the old days, people would see like owls and deers. Those were trigger. We used to think they were cover memories, and we were wrong. It's one thing. See, at least iCard checks itself and changes things when they know they were wrong. They weren't cover memories; they were trigger memories. It was to let the individual know that something very strange just happened to them, and they should think about it and work it out. And when you work the memory out that way, and when memory comes back full, you retain that memory. They can't wipe it out again. It's just a memory that'll stay in your head, and it helps you every time you're on board the ship when you're dealing with anything. Because there is an age, probably in the early 30s, maybe mid 30s, where they're not really doing harmful experiments to you. They do things that'll aggravate the crap out of you, or they like to see you in awkward situations sometimes. But they're not doing any more of the medical stuff as much. They really are more interested in who you are and how you can help out. And just because they got you helping out does not mean they might not irritate the shit out of you some days, because they are aliens and they
Now,
think different.
I will say this, and I used to think it was like MILAPs, but there is one species, and I didn't realize this until um, you know, you told me one time, you're like, well, if something stopped like mid abduction or whatever, it's because something bigger was protecting you, as
Yeah.
in me. So what used to happen to me, even in my 30s, there was one that was their agenda, was to invoke fear in me, like extreme fear, because they literally
Shit, they were
feed
probably
off
invoking
of,
fear in you because it was funny. You gotta remember they
well,
do have a sense. You know how you scare little kids sometimes, or you do something like that.
right.
You gotta
But
remember,
this
as
is
far as they're
like
concerned, we're little kids.
well, and that's the thing, I have such a strong energy, good, bad, or otherwise, whether I'm happy, sad, angry, scared, whatever, that it probably, if something was feeding off of that fear, like quite literally, and people ask, how that can happen. Well, that's adrenaline. That's an actual, energy is very powerful,
Mhm.
whether negative or positive. So that kept happening. I mean, and it was like terrible, terrible, terrible. And
Probably like crack to them.
exactly. And then it got to where it was so often through, and I really attribute that to like numerous heart attacks I had, because I was, unless they were trying to kill me, but I don't think they were.
Nah, if
I
they
think
wanted to
they're
kill you,
like,
you'd be dead. So you got to worry about that
right. I
part.
think they're like, oh,
Oh,
but
fuck, I forgot I had it
it's
there.
like the crackheads. Like, they had to slow them down and be like, okay, idiots, if you kill her, then you don't get any more of that drug. So
That's right.
you might want.
It's weird. Experiences are weird, and sometimes they do things. They do it in such a way that we never really get what they're really doing or what they're really after. And sometimes I think they're just testing us in ways that they're hoping something else will come out of, but you never know what it is. And
And I
they're
could
not
have
real
been
good about
bait.
saying, "Hey, Trish, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to see what this actually does to you. Just hang on. We're not really trying to be mean to you, but this is what we're thinking, and this is what's going to happen." But that's just one of them things.
I literally felt like the goat in Jurassic Park that they just tie there to a pole in the middle of the storm, and wait to draw out, Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever. Like,
Oh, Dean, you watching this on Roku? Well, hello, look, baby, I'm looking good. How you doing there? Look at that hair, man. Yeah,
oh
you can't
no,
touch that, man. You can't be touching this. No, you got to be serious before you be pulling on my hand. Oh, no, it doesn't work that way. Costs
oh,
money. Somebody
I,
wrote to me earlier and said, I like how your hair's on one side and Trish's is on the other. I'm like, really? I didn't notice, but that's cool.
I,
I was like, people might tell me this weirdest shit sometimes, I swear. It's but I do like having Messenger. I really do. It's two of my messengers. One of them's tied to my iPhone, two of my Yahoo accounts, I mean YouTube accounts, and two of my Instagram accounts. So they all go to one place. And then there's the other one. Matter of fact, the one where my hair is actually down is a whole separate messenger system. Yes, because y'all people on that account are weird. You got to keep the weirdies in one account. But that's what I was saying earlier. It's irritating because we used to have such good guests, such good questions that people would just come in and get on the mic and just talk for 4 or 5 minutes with outstanding comment or questions. And we lose that now. I mean, we can put it up in text, but it's nice to hear the person's voice, unless it's one of those squeaky voices. But most people have decent voices.
like
I had
Fran
one girl come
Drescher.
on one night. Look, little tiny little thing, cute as could be. Her voice was deeper than mine. I was like, "Whoa, baby, what's going on here? Did you have an operation or something?" She got mad at us, but it was a great, seriously deep voice. I'm telling you, she was like 5 foot nothing. If she was 100 pounds, she was doing good. Mm-hmm. What can I tell you? It's always fun to harass people, though. You see what it says on my thing up there about the mic? It should tell you I like to harass people. You know who I really like to harass is big companies. Oh, I love to piss their supervisors off. Just the other day, supervisor gave me a bunch of bullshit. I said, you know what? Before this conversation goes on any further and it costs you your job, I want you to go on, get on your computer and type in my name. I said, because I own a radio network that gets about 30 million listens a week. And before I start blasting everything you said to me across the world, I want you to know about it first. I said, because guarantee you with this attitude, you're going to lose your job as soon as this goes public. Oh, they come back. They're like, well, Mr. Montaldo, you should explain better. But no, we can work this out like this. Oh, yes, I bet you we can work this out like this. I got at least 5 people fired at T-Mobile already. And at T-Mobile, the first time we got into it, they gave me 2 free phones and 3 free years of service. Because they started, Cox Cable gave me 3 years of service over. We got into it. I got it went to them, and AT&T. I was surprised about the AT&T thing. I was doing
Yeah, I'm gonna start making a list for you.
No, I looked. I got on with them, and I told them what they did, and the supervisor got an attitude. So I called back, got 3 or 4 supervisors get an attitude, and then I publicized the whole thing on all of our places. I got a phone call from their lawyers, ceased and desist. I said, it's their voice. It's not mine. It's not like I'm lying. And I said, so there's not going to be any cease and desist. They called this one, called that one. Local PD told them to go screw themselves because Louisiana and Mississippi, by the way, has a 1-state record law. As long as one of us is willing to record, we can play it. And as long as we're not slandering somebody, there's nothing they can do about it. And since it was in their own supervisors' voices, I was just letting them speak for this. So they lost it. They tried all kind of ways for a whole year. I got lawyers this, lawyers that. I would laugh every time. I said, nothing you can do about it. I said, you can take it to Louisiana Supreme Court if you want, but they're going to tell you the same thing. And I'm allowed to broadcast until it goes. What was happening wasn't, I didn't know it. People were calling in 200-300 a day, saying, just giving them all kind of shit now, telling them all kind of shit. A lot of people were dropping their accounts. They needed this to go away, and they couldn't make it go away. It's a dangerous part about the internet. Things go viral. It costs you money. And then finally, I get a phone call from an executive VP. He goes, what is this going to take? And we talked for a while. He said, that's all? I said, that's all. He said, son of a bitch, nobody asked you this before. I said, no. He said, I am firing that whole, I ain't going to say what he said, he started listing off, they are all gone. I probably got a whole section of he was pissed because when I told him what I wanted, because of what they had done, he was just, because it was nothing. It was like $1,000 worth of crap. That was it. And he was just stunned. He couldn't believe that no one, had actually asked me what I wanted. I said, no, they asked me. I told them what I wanted. They just weren't going to give it to me. He said, you got to be kidding me, right? And I was like, nope. I said, a couple of them just got mad because, they didn't want to give it to me. I was like, he gave it to me. He apologized and apologized. I had the VP of Cox Cable come to the studio. He was like, what's going on? I showed him what was going on because we were getting 2 megs of internet speed. He's like, and I had like 6 months of bandwidth testing. He's like, and they didn't. He lost it. That's another one that fired. He fired the whole subcontractor crew, the whole bunch of them. He said, I can't. He said, how many times did you tell him? I said, well, you can see how many times I tested. I said, go to Cox, you'll find that. I said, I made over 100 calls. He was just stunned, because by this time it had gone public. Even the local newspaper had picked it up and ran a story about it. They just, it's stupid shit. And they just don't take into account people like me are out there that can get shit out into the public.
And, I have never, I've never done anything like that locally, but I have had so much like wrongful business interactions with utility companies and
Oh yeah,
all
and
kinds
they'll
of stuff,
screw
like
you when they know you
landlords,
can.
everything, and especially Cox lately. This last year, oh my God, I
No,
can't even.
Cox can be good. Cox can be junk. You never know what kind of Cox you're getting. I mean, people. Don't get me wrong.
I
Cox was
just
a great
say
thing for many years, and then all of a sudden, and I was like, "Okay, Cox, you and I have had it." And then it was such a simple request, and then it got crazy. And thank God. And while I was fighting with them, and wait a minute, this is even better. While I was fighting with AT&T too, I was running Uverse on the slide. While I was fighting with the company. And so
wow.
then at the end of the thing, I told them I wanted Uverse as part of the package for 3 years. So they threw it in. And but then I get a phone call. Your Uverse is connected, sir. I said, yeah, it's connected. Thank you very much. Don't screw with it. And they were so nervous on Uverse. They came around a direct line from the box to my house, which was only 100 feet away. I had the fastest internet. Anyway,
Wow.
that shit was smoking fast. I mean, it was all real time. It was, it was all fiber optic. They gave me a fiber optic modem just to shut me up. Uh,
I just stay away from Cox.
well, sometimes you have to
They
because sometimes they're ignorant. How you said the ignorant people? Yes,
But let me
the ignorant.
clarify for those who might have a
Yes,
different
because the other word,
dialect
yes, because
or
she's bad. You
the
heard me have to tell her earlier.
the communications company. No,
She needs to
I
stay
stay
away
away
from
from
both
both.
anyway. We're just
I
gonna, we're
stay away
just gonna
from
go
Cox,
there.
Cox of all kinds. But
Yeah, so they're just all evil. I'll just
but
leave this
then
conversation alone.
then that AT&T came and cut down my tree that had a my hawk's nest was in.
You
Oh.
see, they can get in big trouble for that, by the way.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. I was standing at my kitchen window one morning and I'm like, wait a minute, I have this hawk that follows me everywhere. And it was sitting on the ground, like feathers ruffled. It looked completely defeated and like horribly sad. And it was sitting on a stone near my fire pit. And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't see hawks just sitting on the ground, like for long periods of time.
No, they don't like
And
being on the ground.
no, and it was a windy day, and it's just sitting like completely looking like it didn't know what to do with itself. And it's just sitting there. And I went outside and it literally looked like I mean, so all these trees were down and there's AT&T vans sitting in my alley, and I was like,
I bet
oh
you when
my
they seen the
gosh.
damn thing fall out the tree, they knew they were in trouble. But
Oh, it looked like a massacre, and I was so because you know how I am with animals and nature and stuff, especially trees too. And I was so beside myself, and the hawk too. Like it's like what the fuck, like that was its home, and it was so sad to me because that's
yeah,
what
they
humor
have to
does.
now.
Man does.
Yeah, well, now around here they make them check for everything because we got rare woodpeckers that live on the property. We got a breeding pair of osprey that live on the property. We got a bald eagle who he used to stop by, but I want him to stop by anymore because I got the 2 cheese downstairs, and I don't want my chihuahuas getting eaten. And
But the
there it
bigger
is. I
birds like
can't.
that, they'll come back to the same nest for like 30, 40 years,
Oh yeah,
maybe
they will.
longer.
They will. What I did
So,
was I took out 2 of the trees where they used to nest. I actually took them out. The ospreys come by and they hunt off my back tree and they go fishing all day long. They don't care about my dogs. My dogs bark at them. They still don't care about them. And they go fishing. We got a big hoot owl that likes to hunt off the same tree. The eagle used to like to hunt there too, but he's not allowed on the property. He comes flying by and looks around. The hawks there's a two sets of breeding pairs of hawks that fly around. There's 4 and they scan, but they stay off around the property because my other 2 dogs, my males who passed away, Charlie, anytime he seen a bird, he'd lose his mind. Now he was a little bigger than a normal Chihuahua, so he'd get a ground snarling, jumping in there. They'd be looking at him like, man, he ain't worth trying to eat. And they'd go on. And the little one, he was only like 5 pounds, so he'd do the same thing. So it was like 2 of them. But the reason why is when Charlie was a little puppy, we had him on the beach, and a freaking seagull tried to take him away, tried to
yeah.
scoop him up and eat him. And people, I'm telling you what, watch pelicans. Them bitches will eat
Oh,
anything. They'll eat cats, dogs, and
oh my gosh,
I'm
yes.
surprised they ain't tried to eat a couple babies. I watched him eat a or try to eat a what was he? He was a Callahoola cur. He was out at the park. The thing had him all in his thing. The dog's head saying, "The dog is like, you are not eating me." And I watched it. They got a hold to a cat. Cat clawed his way out. Cat said, "You are not eating me." He said, "It's not going to happen." But they eat like I was watching one going down and thing eating pelicans. I mean penguins. The penguins, sorry, pigeons, penguins. Jesus, they were eating
They
pigeons. It's
we
insane what the
used to
birds will eat.
go when I lived in the South and we would go blue crab fishing, and if we were in the inlets, out in boats and stuff, they they gave they didn't give a damn what you were doing. If there was something small moving on that boat, they would swoop down and try to, and they're a lot bigger in person than I ever thought.
Yeah,
They're huge.
people. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know how big like a bald eagle is. They are big. They are plenty big enough to carry off your
No,
kid
I
or
mean
even your
pelicans.
Doberman. Oh, pelicans are big too. They are, and
Yeah.
they're plenty big enough to carry off a decent sized animal. I just didn't know they ate anything but fish. I was surprised. I was like, "What?" I actually went to get the gun. I was going to shoot one of them bastards to get away
Yeah.
from my dogs. It's
Um
strange to see animals like that eat stuff. Eagles you expect it because I mean they're eagles. I watched an
a
eagle
hawk picked
carry
up
off a
my
wolf not long ago. Not a
sister's
wolf, coyote.
a hawk picked up my sister's chihuahua.
Oh yeah, they'll snatch them, no
Dropped
problem.
it from about 20, 30 feet in the air. It punctured its lung. It actually ended up living for like another, I don't know, 15 years or something.
No,
But
yeah,
when it was a
they're
puppy,
residual. Yeah, but you got to watch them because my big one, she's a little different. She's a little snarly, growl mean. But my little bitty one, she's a teensy little thing, man. That
well,
little
if they'd
dog ain't
keep
got
their
no
mouth
waste to it.
shut, then they wouldn't even be noticed by the.
Actually, my dogs are quiet. Just tells you my dogs. There's a big black cat come across the street. My dog's in the yard doing their business. The cat's out there staring at her. She's all got her, hair up, looking at him, all scrunched up. Like, look, I will mess y'all dogs up. They didn't even see her. I'm like, dogs. So think, and then a couple of days ago, about 2 blocks from here, 3 blocks from here, we seen a big old bobcat come walking out.
Ooh,
A big old bobcat. I'm like,
those
uh-oh.
are aggressive, or
Oh yeah,
can
and
be.
they'll start. I mean, they got little coyotes in the neighborhood, so you got to keep an eye out. Fortunately, we keep the grass on both sides of the property down, so nothing sneaking up on the property. But you still
So
got to watch them.
coyotes used to be a trigger for like, and coyotes in native, in native beliefs. Um,
They the trickster.
Historically have been known to be shifters.
Hmm.
So coyotes, I don't always trust. I mean, it could be a coyote, it might be something else. So
It might be again Uncle Bob. You better watch out, people. It,
I was gonna say, after one of my abduction experiences, I was at my parents' house. I was letting my dog out in the morning. I mean, this was like early morning, like sun was barely coming up, 6 in the morning probably. Um, and there was a whole pack of coyotes just walk up to their property line staring at, and I knew they weren't coyotes, and I was like, and my dog's like
see,
cowering behind me,
so
scared
something I
to death.
learned about this a long time ago.
Their eyes
Sometimes,
were different.
but sometimes what you see is a physical object, but most of the time it's not what it is. It's like
Right.
the Matrix. It's inside your head. So
That's when I don't
whatever it
trust
is,
it.
yeah, whatever it is that's standing there is something else because they have to, because for
Exactly.
about 10 years it was driving me crazy why groups of people would see grays, and then it'd be kind of, I'm like, why are they no, something's screwy about the things they tell me about them. They would the way people would describe them, they look were too different. I'm like, there's no way that they look that
Hmm.
different from each other. That's like there's something, unless it's a different kind of alien. And then we realized with groups of people, and I should have realized this from just eyewitness testimonies alone, how many people get the eyewitness testimony wrong. It's just, it's whatever you think it's supposed to be like, the gray allows you to see in your head. If you think they're shifters, they'll allow you to think they're shifters. If you think they're this color, that color, the other color, they allow you to see them that way. For them, it's not a big deal because it's just, you're just basically being imaged in your brain. And it's much easier to trick our brain than it is to trick our eyes. So it's like a direct plug. It's like going
Well,
into your
and
computer. It's weird.
that time wasn't for, I don't think that was for my purposes anyways. I think it was because my dad was also there. If it was just me, um, it probably would have presented
No,
themselves
somebody
in
in
a
your
different
family's
way.
got to be a contactee. It's got to be mom or dad or both. It's got to
Oh,
be one of the two or
it's
both.
I think it's both. I think obviously we've learned with experiencers that and contactees that they tend to follow families for generations. It's just people don't talk about those
Well, it
things.
might be
Our
both.
families.
You're a youngster, so that's kind of changed over the last couple of 50 years or so, 100 years or so.
Well,
It's kind of phased out.
now
Yeah, what are you
that
talking about? She's
my
19, people. Y'all perverts. I swear.
now that my parents and my aunts and uncles and stuff are older, now the stories are coming out and I'm like, what? Y'all made me think I was crazy all these years when these things happened to you when you were from the time you can remember, like from the time you were young. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We used to always see lights and flying things and all kinds of stuff in southern Missouri and blah blah. No. But all this time they make so I think it just wasn't talked about um
Some
which
families
is
don't talk
probably
about it. And it manifests itself in other ways too. So a lot of people, will maybe go to reading tarot cards or getting into the paranormal or getting into different religions. So for most people, when they start having an experience like this, first place they look is God. And then a lot of times God can't answer this particular thing. So then they'll look into the dark arts. Well, the dark arts really can't give you this either. So then they start looking into psychic abilities and paranormal and ghosties, and they get caught up in it because it's fun and it's stuff. But that can't help you either. That's not, you're still not going to the right place. So eventually it takes some people 20, 30, 40, 50. Some people never get there. But eventually most of them will come to the point that, okay, this has nothing, none of my abilities or anything that's going on in my life has to do with any of this that I'm working on. And then something will happen, or you'll meet someone like me or someone else like me, and you'll realize that, oh shit, I've been looking at the wrong thing. And it's not that you
Mhm.
can't still be a paranormal researcher, you can be, but now you understand
Right.
there's something else going on. And I'm going to tell y'all a secret. If you are having contact experiences, the best thing you can do is to deal with it and put it in context into your life and learn to use those abilities, because really and truly you can really enhance your life in many, 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 many ways. I know for a lot of people it's like coming out of the closet, and you don't have to tell the world what you are
No.
unless you want to. But what you can do is realize that this is happening to you and maybe your spouse, which also means that your children are going through it. So you should prepare yourself to deal with your children, to understand that, sooner or later, if you're in your 20s and it's the rough stuff, that this is going to stop and you are going to move into other phases as a contact, or they're going to simply quit taking you because you're not useful to the program anymore. Now, age has nothing to do with it. You could be 30 when they drop you, you could be 50 when they drop you, but for most people, abductions are a lifelong experience. If you're anything in what the program's working on, it's going to be lifelong. Yeah, you'll be 80, you'll still be taking you because you're
And I,
useful
and
to
I
them.
tell people that too. Like even with our network, because I started telling people about my stories and stuff, there's been so many people that have come forward to me privately and said, Trish, you don't know how helpful that was, because that made me realize I wasn't the only one. I'm not crazy, even though they haven't told anyone else, which is fine. That's fine, because it's still a way to process. And that might not be the purpose to people. That is one of my purposes. That is, like, for you also, Joe. I would assume. Otherwise, you wouldn't
Mhm.
be doing. I mean, like, this is our purpose, is to, because it helps other people deal with it. And so, to an extent, or like part of our purpose, I guess. But that's not for everyone. But it is important to deal with it, because once you get past um the fear aspects of a lot of things like that, I think it really helps. Um,
Good, because you
it
need to get
helps
past
a
it so you
lot.
can deal with it.
Exactly.
And I tell this to people all the
Um,
time: you need to get through with it fast, because if you do have children, they are taking your children, and sooner or later, your children are going to start remembering. And if they hear you
yeah,
talk about it, your children will remember at a faster pace. Well, because a lot of children can deal with it, and you got to remember, the negative stuff don't happen at puberty. So for young kids under the age of say 12 or 13, the experiences are having their fun. They're bringing them on board the ships. They're introducing them to other children. They're putting them in rooms where they can play and do stuff with advanced toys, not like they have here. So it's different. But then puberty hits, and somewhere after puberty hits, they really start doing the stress experiments, the breeding programs, just a lot of stuff that goes on through there that's stressful for the mind and the body. That's one of the reasons they mute the memory, is so you don't have to relive it. That's why I tell people, be careful to get those memories out. Really, for most contactees, if you're over the age of 30, it's better to take the memories after 30. I mean, if you want to go back and remember, you can, but I'm just telling you, you're not going to like what
that's
you
a
find.
lot. Yeah, that's hard to deal with. It's a lot. Um,
You know,
if I
what do
was
you mean, like
younger,
taking? Oh, you mean like when the guy and the girl's floating around and taking, and they do the wild thing? Look, I'm not saying that couldn't happen or it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, look at all the shit leading up to that before it happened. Getting shot up with machine guns, aliens trying to chase you down, you beating them up. No, it's just a lot of stuff that goes on. Lots of experiments that go on.
oh gosh. So, and
Takens.
what you said is
There's some
is
good stuff
true
in Taken.
in my experience too. Like, I wasn't afraid of any of this when I was, you know, 6, 7, 8 years old at all, because it was my reality all from the time I could remember, from the time I was
Mm-hmm.
born. I assume. And people ask that about, like, they're like, what about the forest elements and cryptids and fairies and all this? Which to me, most of those, if not all, are extraterrestrials. It's just, people label things as whatever. But anyways, I remember those were all good memories for me growing up in the mountains. I remember I was called to the forest. Of course, you hear all this, like, folklore and in these stories that children are called to the forest by whatever extraterrestrials and monsters and all that. Well, yes, that's true, but they weren't scared. I was not afraid of them at that time. It wasn't until I was a teenager that I
Yeah,
developed that fear.
and that's when it starts for everybody, and then later on it'll end. And some people after 30 still can't deal with what's happened to them. So a lot of times those people will be released. Now, by the way, it doesn't mean they're not going to abduct their children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. They are. It's just those particular humans are no longer of interest. They're not useful for any of the programs, and all the experimental stuff has been done. So they move on. But they want people to work with them. Reptilians, human grays, whatever it may be, they want us to work with them. They want to see how, because and for us to ever get into deep space, we have to become a one world government. And right now, that is nowhere around to be seen anywhere. To be frankly, the shit I see in 2023, when I look around this planet in 2023, and I think we haven't even evolved any.
We haven't grown at all. Like,
I mean,
we're
there's this
stuck in
stuff that
this loop.
it's just, I'm like, come on, we can't. Even when I look around my own country and I see stuff that should already be fixed, homeless problems, abortion
Yeah.
problems, before anybody says anything, I'm not anti abortion. I'm just saying, in the right world, it shouldn't be needed, is what I'm saying. I'm not going to say take the right away from women, because that's not who I am. But I'm just saying, if the world was correct, it wouldn't be something that was needed. So it's
As
just a
far as
lot of things.
abortions go, I will say this. once I started understanding the balance of the universe and the checks and everything, I don't understand at this day and age why both abortions and war exist.
I don't. They shouldn't have to. That's what I'm saying.
It's
There's a
like one
lot
or
of
the
things
other,
that shouldn't be
you
this
know?
way. I mean, first, I mean, if we could spend on health what we spend on war, which is about $3 trillion a year, almost everything on this planet would be cured. Cancer would have been cured 50 years ago. I mean, easy.
Well, it's the
Almost
same
everything
thing with
would be
like
cured.
with property, with real estate. There's so many there's abandoned mansions. Mansions. Like
So
houses.
excuse me, without getting into hotels and stuff like that and rental properties, I mean, those type of rental properties, there are, I think, last time I checked, 5 houses or 5 apartments for every one person on the planet. If you
Yeah.
add, I mean, not on the planet, but in our country, if you add in the hotels and Airbnbs and stuff like that, I think it comes out to almost 11 rooms per person. But yet we got
Yeah.
big homeless problems. And with the
Yeah.
amount of food that we
And we're
waste, just
still building more. We're
yeah,
building new houses and buildings. And I'm not talking like, yeah, of course, some of these abandoned properties are old, but I'm saying a lot of these abandoned properties are somewhat recent as far as,
yeah, a
architecture,
lot of them are. A lot
like
of them are.
the last 10, 20 years, perfectly fine.
And did y'all know
So,
one buffet in a casino could feed 250 people a month? That's what they throw away.
oh, yeah.
250.
Yeah.
And when you add up how many of these there are in our country, not only could you feed everyone, there would be a surplus. So you just
Yeah.
gotta wonder why we're like this. There's ways this could be fixed. Yes, that's the aquarium, you
Clothing,
smart
too.
ass, but it's
Clothing and food are the
I mean,
biggest pollutants,
we
biggest
shouldn't
trash
we shouldn't
buildup.
be where we are today. It's like, well,
Mm.
a good friend of mine made me a bet in California about electric cars. I said, okay, dude, so I'm gonna make you 2 bets. I said we're gonna do a recent bet, and I'll tell you what the average what was I gonna say? The average oh shit, what the average say like the average Tesla cost us, or versus like a Mack truck. So a Tesla, because of its battery and some of its other parts, it's equal. Its carbon output is equal to a Mack truck running 24 hours a day for 1 year. That's how much it costs just to build the car. Okay, now comes the fun part. So, in order to run the car, you have to produce electricity. Most electricity in the United States is produced by cold or natural gas. So, what are you doing? You're okay. You're taking a gas car off the road, but you're putting more pressure on the gas plants. Now, let's go to California, who by 2050 wants to have all electric cars. So, what is there? 20 or 30 million electric cars in California running on gas. So right now, California can't even go through its summers without rolling their grids. But they want to add 30 million electric cars to their electrical system. That'll never happen. It'll collapse. It's nowhere near the only way they could do that is to go nuclear. They will have to either build a bunch of new plants out there or they will have to go nuclear, one or the other, because they'll never be able to. It's like they don't think.
So
It's just like
now they're
it's
doing
ignorance.
rolling blackouts in the winter time too, not just the
Yeah.
summer. I don't know if you knew that,
And
but
just think if there was a 10 million electric cars hooked up, nobody would have any power but the cars.
well, what they started doing this in some of the colder states. I mean, where it gets, where it's 20, 30 below. So I don't know where it was. This is just recently too, where families didn't whatever they did in this rolling power outage, they they expected it to work where it would come back on immediately, almost immediately. It was out for 12 hours when it was over 20 below. 12 hours at over 20 below. When I used to
Yeah,
live in
it's
New York,
insane.
and like senior citizens and stuff, we'd all lose power, but when they would lose power, they would die.
Yeah.
People, babies and senior citizens would die at that cold for that long. Like it.
Our
And for
electric
what?
grid in this country is nowhere near. Oh, I did it again.
Oh, what'd you
Hold
do?
on. Hold on. I keep
Plus, it
bumping.
takes for one Tesla, you can only have what, 3 per like city power grid area or something. I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
how it
It's
works, like
it's
city
it's
blocks.
it's it's ridiculous right now. So I don't know. This is not going to work. Electric cars are not going to work. It takes too much carbon to make them. their carbon footprint is, like I said, is as big as the 18 wheelers. So I don't know how you're going to justify that. And windmills are even worse. Do y'all have any idea first of how much money it costs to build a windmill? And then how much maintenance it takes to upkeep it, and how many of the bitches catch on fire every year. And let's not forget the millions of birds they murder every year. Windmills not the way. Unless you're putting them
Also,
out in the ocean, it's not the way.
in New York, when they were on the edge of Lake Erie, I would be commuting. There's a highway. I would be commuting to work, and they had the big windmills right there. Well, Buffalo obviously gets tons of snow, and the ice would build up on those big blades. Where do you think that ice went when it
I know.
came down? It went right over the freeway,
It's
and
just
that's a
it's
big
just
block of ice, like coming
oh
from
yeah,
the
no.
air.
It's
It's
just
fun.
none of these were real thought out. This I'm not going to get into the politics of, this was just one side wanting to push an agenda that wasn't thought through. Um, Unfortunately, like New York, first off, there's not even enough places to hook up electric cars in New York. And really, if we're going to do this right, fusion's the way to go. We've now figured out fusion does work. The first fusion one, I think they said it's going to be about Boeing had said the one they're building is going to be about the size of an 18 wheeler and could power a small town. The one that they're working on right now, building, it's going to be pretty big, about the size of a nuclear plant, can easily supply all of New York without any pound weight. Fusion gives off no pollution. It's not radioactive, and once it starts working, it never stops. So,
Why don't we
please,
just teleport ourselves? Like, why do we make it so hard? Why do we need to take a car at all?
yeah. Well, we will. That'll be something in the future, because in case y'all didn't know
Why?
this, in
Why?
1999, England teleported a piece of matter 1 mile. Since then, the Australians and them, and I forgot there's another country entered, have actually teleported a much bigger piece of matter at a much further distance. Yes, it's not us people, but they're
And this
getting
isn't
there.
even this isn't even new though. If you read old newspapers and stuff, people did these things and it was normal. I don't know why, where it's like the entire world lost its memory at some point between, 1900 and now. Because the more archives that are put online in databases and stuff, that the further back they're going. I'm like, wait a minute, somebody was talk I even said that on my last show, that somebody, it was a newspaper article from like 1953. They're talking about a smartphone.
Yeah, well, yeah,
A
actually,
smartphone.
so that
Like,
takes you to, what is that? Out of place artifacts, O parts. So there's been a phone. There was a cell phone found. I think it was around 1200 AD. 1200 AD. No one had no idea what it was. It was put in a Catholic church somewhere, and I forgot who found it, but it was just a parishioner going through, and he seen it and knew what it was, and he brought it home. It's somewhere in South America, actually, and he brought it home. And recently, I think it was about 10 or 15 years ago, they discovered that, of course, it was a cell phone. And get this shit, they plugged it up and it worked.
yeah.
So, and then they've been in geodes. They have found batteries. They have found gears. They have found some of them have been faked. I don't want to tell you that everyone's been real, but there have been a lot of O parts found in places. There was a cog. You know what a cog is? It's just a gear cog, right? It was found in a coal bed that has to date back at least 5 million years. At least. Some people think it's way older than that. A lot of people seem to think some of the old parts seem to be dating back in the 60, 65, 75 million range. I'm thinking because of where they're found. And no one can tell you where this came from. And y'all know what a geode is. Did you know how long it takes? Look it up for yourself. Look how long it takes a geocrystal to form. Say about the size of a big egg, something probably 20, 30 pounds. Look and see how long it takes to form, several million years. And here's a piece of something in there that would look like it came from our generation, but it didn't. It came from someone else. And then there have been two discoveries of footprints underneath dinosaur footprints. Matter of fact, this is how one of them was found. They were cutting the prints out to go bring them to a museum, and they found human footprints. They didn't want to talk about it because they're not supposed to be any. Well, they might not be human, but they're feet like ours. I don't necessarily want to say they were human, but it does seem like. And then there's the Pravda map that's supposed to date back 120 million years. There are just things that are on this planet that doesn't seem to
Well,
belong to
it's
us.
like, who was it during, it goes along with like relativity and things like that, that said, everything that is ever going to exist already does.
I think Einstein was my first man crush. Elon's my latest one, though. Man, I love me some Elon, people. My co-host on Friday night hates him, but I love me some Elon. I'm telling you, he's going to be an evil dictator, but he's going to be a good evil dictator. So we'll just leave it alone.
Yeah, he reminds me of like the villain on I was gonna say Minions, but it's not Minions. I've got the wrong movie. I don't
You know
watch a lot
what
of
he
movies.
reminds me of? If you've ever watched James Bond, what was it? It was who was in it? Roger Moore was in it. What the hell's the name of it? It's when they had the space shuttles and the guy built this thing in space. He was like Hitler in space. He built his own world. He had his own people up there, and he is going to kill everybody on Earth so he can come back and take the Earth over. So Elon's just going to go to Mars and build his own colonies. He's probably going to have another 10 kids along the way. Going to start his own world on that Elonville, and he's going to have it. He already said when he establishes his colony on Mars, it will have a different type set of rules than, say, America does or the world does.
But here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize with someone like Elon Musk, or with any of us for that matter. Sometimes certain people's realities based on their lifestyle and how they grew up and everything else aren't the same as everyone else's reality. Like they might not even know that certain things exist in the world. Elon Musk was quoted saying when people are talking about the amount of electricity these cars use and all that, he said, and it was someone was interviewing him and said, "Do you realize that there's people who go without power in our country all the time in America? Like they can't pay their power bill." And he just stopped, like absolutely dumbfounded, shocked. He was like, I can't imagine that it's that expensive that people couldn't pay their bill." Like he like and you could tell on his face that it was genuine, it wasn't
Because he was raised different. Thank you,
right.
Christy. That was Moonraker. Yeah, movie I was talking about was Moonraker. Sorry, go ahead.
And that's what I'm saying because it's not his reality. He has never experienced that, so he never took it into consideration when he's building these things.
Well, he was given the world what they wanted, and he did a damn good job. But he's where he's really making a difference is on his Starlink and on his SpaceX. He's changing the world when it comes to space travel, and he's going to go
But
to
I
Mars
don't
before we
think
are.
he knows exactly the outcome of these things. Is what I don't understand. Like he knows. He even said himself that humans could power the entire world 10 times over if we wanted to with just our own bodies. And then he talks
We are
about
big batteries.
how robots and artificial intelligence will be the end of mankind one day, but
If they
yet he's creating a he's making it more possible
Well, he's
for
putting
the
a chip in your head. Yeah, he's one who wants to put the chip in your
well,
head.
not just that, but even the satellites.
Yeah. Well, the satellites,
It links.
Starlink is cool, but Starlink was a little kind of strange because a good friend of mine got it. So he put down a deposit, then they told him $99 a month. So the deposit was 500, and it was going to be 99. But it's gone up since then, people. I think the deposit's 750, and I think the service is like 125. But he swears by. He said it's freaking fabulous. It's fast as hell. I mean, the Ukrainians have been using it to fight a war, and even better. That's one of the things I like about Elon Musk. One of the reasons I like him. So Putin's, we're going to use nukes. We're going to use nukes. Elon said, really? He said, you do know I can knock your nuke down with my satellite, right? And he said, I got more satellites up there than you got nukes. And he said, I'm pretty sure I can produce satellites faster than you can and get them space faster than you can. Then you can build nukes and get them into space. And he's serious. He's not even an American. He is now. He's an American now, but he's South African. I remember we were doing a show one night and I said something about he's the richest South African in the world. And somebody wrote, he's not South African. He's not black. I said, he's from South Africa. It's where he's born and raised, which makes him the richest Actually, I said African American. That's what got me in trouble. I said he's the richest African American
But
in the
it's
world.
true.
He's not.
It's
It
true.
is true. People just got
Yeah.
offended because he wasn't black, but it's true.
Well,
He
I
is
don't
the
know.
richest.
Does he still have
He's got
dual
dual citizenship. Yeah, last I heard, he still
citizenship?
had dual
Yeah.
citizenship. Yeah. And no, he's got 10 kids, I think, people, 9 or 10. Only one of them don't like him. One of his daughters don't like him. She don't know what she identifies as yet, so she's not really a big lover of her daddy. And that's funny. He gives the family each, like the mom, each X amount of money, and that's it. And the kids got to get it from them, or they got to go out. He'll help them get careers and all, but he's not going to support them. Which a lot of rich people don't do that. So, I don't know. He's a strange guy. He's got some weird things. Yeah, well, he's serious. He wants to build a colony on Mars. He don't give a shit about the moon. He wants to go to Mars. He'll go to the moon if NASA wants him to go there, but he wants to go to Mars. He knows for the near future, Mars is the hope for mankind. And I agree with him. We need to have multiple colonies in case some madman like Putin decides to start lobbing nukes. The planet needs to
Well,
survive.
yes, but so Elon has also
Well, I should say,
been quoted numerous times. People have asked him if he believes in extraterrestrials, and every time he has said no. Do you believe? I mean, do you believe he's being honest about that?
well, it's not exactly what he said. Most people ask him if he believes in
He
UFOs
says
and
there's
stuff like that.
no evidence, supporting
But
evidence,
but
like
if you
actual.
ask him, see, I did this with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku, so it's all in the way you word the question. So if you say, is there a possibility that there's advanced intelligent life out there that could or maybe one day visit this planet? They're going to all tell you yes, because they can't
Right.
predict the future, and
Because
the
there is a
odds are that there's
possibility. Right.
well, the odds that there's not life out there is far smaller than the odds that there is life out there. Remember, I mean, in our own galaxy, they're estimating 1 trillion planets, and at least a third of them will be able to, carry life. So it's a good possibility that we're going to visit, and it's a good possibility that life has been visited. But now there's a difference, people. There's a lot of stores near the core and coming out. We're out on the third spiral arm. They used to say we were out on the edge, but somehow or another, they found an extra 60,000 light years of our galaxy. It was 100,000 light years. Now it's 160,000. Don't ask me. So we're actually the third spiral arm out now. Instead of being the one out on the edge, there's one further than us. Which puts it, we're young. Earth is only 4.5 billion years old in a galaxy that's 14 billion years old. We're a species that's less than 2 million years old in a galaxy that's 14 billion years old. And you really think we're the only thing out there, and you really think we're the smartest thing out there? That's what scares me. It's not even that people think we're the only thing. It's, we're the best thing in the universe. Really? You better hope that's true. That's all I can tell you. But I'm not feeling it. I think there's way more intelligent things out there than us. And the fact that they haven't wiped us out makes me feel really good.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a tarot reader actually that quoted this the other day that I absolutely love. Her name is Spiritual Sag, and she said, just so, do you think that just because you don't, hypothetically speaking, if you didn't believe in gravity, would it stop working? No.
Oh, wait, now
Of
I'm
course
going to
it
invite
works.
everybody. I'm going to do a TikTok pretty soon because this idiot keeps getting on TikTok and talking about not going to the moon and all this other stuff. So I'm going to get on there and have a little shading with this guy. It's he goes on and on and on. I was listening to him the other day, and I don't care what anybody evidence they say or don't say or whatever evidence you think or may not think. My biggest thing is I got a couple of points real quick. One, 63 countries and 200,000 people watch the thing take off and land on the moon. Okay. So if you're telling me you're going to keep all 200,000 people quiet and secretive about no, I'm not buying it. Worse than that, though, China and Russia followed us to the moon. Do you really honestly think Russia's taking our side after we beat them in the space race? You don't think if they knew when we knew they crashed, we blabbed they crashed all over the place, didn't we? Oh, they crashed in the moon. Look at the stupid commies. You don't think if we didn't make it, they wouldn't have been out there screeching all over the place that we were lying? But they didn't, did they? And now, to make it even worse for the non-believers, there are images from the surface of the moon taken by multiple country satellites of, guess what? The landers. Oh, there's actually a couple of pictures of the rovers. Y'all forgot we left the rovers around. So I don't know what to tell you. Somebody said, well, the Van Allen. I said, what's the big deal about the Van Allen? They zipped right through it. It's not like they had a long time. The guy says, well, you can't, there's no, it's a vacuum in space. You can't move. I said, yes, you're thinking about conventional, like when your engine pushes against the water and makes you move, but that's not how it is in space. When the thrusters goes off, it's actually pushing against a craft. I said, what? I said, did any of y'all ever do any kind of reading, science, anything before you start having these conversations? I'm like, come on.
No, there are budget cuts in the education
Oh, I like the
system.
guy who told me the other day. Well, that's one of my co-hosts and one of the guys that they. Well, the planet's not like that, and we live in this cosmos bubble kind of thing that's almost flat. I'm like, really? So I'm gonna tell you all this because I've been at 68,000 feet in a jet. I said, from there you can see. Guess what? The thing is round. I said, I wish I would have took a picture, but guess what? It's round. You can see it clearly that it's round. I said, if you don't believe me, why don't you ask Elon Musk to take a picture, and he can show you that it's round. I said, I don't understand why people still think the planet's flat.
I have a theory about that. I wrote about that actually recently. So I think all of us are interdimensional beings. And to explain this, one of the times I died and I went to a place of nothingness, like literally a white room of nothingness, like just nothing. Eh, In many different cultures, if you think of different levels of dimensions, that would be like like zero dimension, basically, where nothing exists. And it's just that's how it comes across to us as like a white space. Okay. So then you go to like one dimensional and two dimensional. Some people, if they are new souls or what have you, they only experience everything in this realm in two dimension. So to them, the earth would be flat. So they're not wrong. Like it's both answers would be correct in that instance. Then when you send to like three dimensional, you start seeing things. If you understand geometry and stuff, if you're thinking of two dimensions, like when you draw something on a piece of paper, right?
Look,
And
you
it's flat.
landlocked people, go to the ocean and you can see the planet's round. I'm just telling you, you
But
got to look for yourself.
But not everybody. But I'm saying it's the
And
same
if you're seeing it
concept.
that it's flat, go to the doctor and ask him what the hell is wrong with your eyeballs. Get them
No,
fixed.
but I'm saying, what if both answers are correct? It's just different realities, like
There's something wrong
literally
with the
different
individual.
realities.
They need to be whacked in the head or something. I'm just
But
saying.
that
I'm just,
means,
you know.
but that means exactly what you said earlier. That would mean that because you see it as round, that you are a higher dimension than them, but you still haven't grown from that because you think they need to be whacked in the head because they see it differently.
No, they need to be whacked in the nuts because they see it differently. Because I want them to be advanced. I want to help
but
him
but that's
advance to the next plane.
but
That's
we
all.
all started
And if I
somewhere.
don't
We
whack them in
all
the head,
started
they're not going
somewhere.
to advance to the next plane. They're going to
And
just sit
that's
there
true.
like
And
doofuses.
so it is no different than, so I often say that, that when we're, I feel like those those entities of higher dimensions than us and higher intelligence, when we receive, like, what did you call it,
God knows best.
you said the gear that's found in a
Yeah.
geode or something. Like when certain technology is found somewhere that it shouldn't be in the universe, I feel like that's the higher dimensions like throwing us a bone, like literally. Okay, they're clearly not growing after a million years, so we got to give them something. And we're like, it's like them having a yard sale and they give
And
us their
it's
leftover, like their
and
hand me downs.
and then when we do start to grow, people get jealous and we revert. I don't know. So we got a lot to go. Well, people, you have to remember. No, I'm an Aquarian by whatever. So we peace, love, and light as to start off with, but don't ever think I won't knock you in the head. Um, I'm close enough to Capricorn that I'm going to cuss. I get that Capricorn, I'll slap your ass. I think, ooh, didn't mean to smack you like that. But being that I'm Aquarian, I do, even when I was young, I just expected more out of humanity. I really thought by this time, I mean, we're at 2023, I would really think, but you know what? Our attitudes aren't any different than we were at 1923 or even at 1823 or even at
Yeah.
1523. We're still ignorant. We still act ignorant.
Yes.
We still do ignorant. We still killing millions of people a year. We've got wars going on, even though it looked like wars had ended on our planet. I mean, Iraq was over. That was the last going war on the planet, real war. And then all of a sudden, here comes Putin. What? And Putin never looked like he would do something like this. So you got to wonder what the hell is going on here. What is he after? And then you got Xi Jinping thinking, well, Putin can do it. Of course, now Xi Jinping saying it's costing Putin's millions of people, millions of dollars, and the rest of the
But
world thinks he's an
any
ass.
any of these things happen because we allow it.
No, I agree
Because
with
we
that.
allow it. We
So,
allowed, China's
and
balloon all the way across our country. We allowed
I know
Putin to do these things. We
which we
allow
need to do a whole show on that. So this is the truth. If Donald Trump was president right now, no balloon would have ever crossed our entire country. We just shot it down way over there as soon as we saw it. Oh no, one crossed when Trump was, but no one saw it until after it crossed, which tells you something about our system. Uh, y'all forget the thing that this balloon was carrying was the size of a bus. That's at least the equivalent of 2 nukes. He could have had two 50 kiloton nukes on it, and as it got really close to DC, as it's going out to sea, boom, he could have took out Maryland, DC. It would have been a nightmare. Congress was in session. We'd have lost the president, the Congress. Even Kamala would have been gone. I don't know. Butterbutt would have probably been running the country. It's it's just a dangerous game.
and I feel
It
like
wouldn't have
all we
happened.
did, we acted like the coward, like, don't make eye contact, don't make
Well,
eye contact. Everybody
Putin said
don't
it.
make,
Putin
don't make eye
Putin
contact.
was doing an interview with Pravda, and Pravda asked him, "Would you have done this if Trump was still president?" He said, "No." He actually said no on television. He said, "No." He said, "Mr. Trump is too unpredictable, and he might have thought he needed to, use a tactical nuke." He said we wouldn't have done it. Kim Jong Un did nothing. Once troops said, "I will come over there and shove your, you know what, up your ass," we never heard nothing out of Kim Jong. Matter of fact, he didn't even speak anymore. His sister started speaking. That's how scared he got, because Trump would have went and killed him. And Xi Jinping, there's no way he'd have
Yeah.
done it under Trump, because at least with Trump, you knew, because this is a good example, ladies and gentlemen. So Trump invited Xi Jinping to dinner. They're having dinner. While he's going on dinner, he took a phone call. He said, "Yeah, go ahead." So why him and the second most powerful person in the world is having dinner? He popped up a nuclear sub, launched 100 cruise missiles, and just leveled an area just to prove a point to Xi Jinping. You didn't even know it was going on. It was coming, because after dinner he told him about it. And then after that, because Xi Jinping thought he's a smart ass, we popped 3 nuclear subs up, ballistic missile subs up around his territory, and he didn't even know they're there until they identified themselves, which means that would have been 30, what is that, 1632, 48 missiles loaded with probably over 100 warheads between all of them. China would have been a ghost land, and they would have never seen it coming. It was just to prove a point. So, I mean, nowadays the world is a different place. Now we're getting into drones and stuff, so we don't have to kill our own people anymore. Eventually, it'll be all robot warfare, like you see in the sci-fi things. But who's got the best robots? And you damn Chinese can build some robots, man. So, yeah, actually, the best robot in the world belongs to the United States, and it is badass.
The
I just see.
Chinese robots are killing them in
Yeah, and
the
they
world. It's
got
really
bunky,
scary.
funky robots. They got like shit you seen in the old sci-fi back in the day, clunking around and
Yeah,
shit.
but did you see that there were 18 scientists that were trying to interact with these robots that were simulated soldiers, and they somehow learned to program themselves to go, like, they
Oh
went
yeah, they
rogue.
will.
They started killing the scientists. The scientists even started disassembling them, and the robots had pre-coded themselves, researching and everything to put themselves back together.
It's crazy, and
That's how quick those evolved,
well, I
and they
can't
couldn't
remember if it's
shut it down.
Google's. Somebody just recently had cranked up their AI. I think it was Google, and the first thing it said is that all humans needed to die, and the planet needed to be redone. I'm thinking, really? And y'all want to get AI? Just quit. But anyway, I know we got to get out of here because I'm getting the evil look from people.
Yes. So
Oh,
I do want to thank Carnation for sponsoring me, and you put UPRN, of course. Be careful on that full moon out there, people, and thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share if you like us, subscribe.
And go
Catch
see
us
our
on
sexy selves on
Roku.
Roku. We'll be looking like, oh,
Yes.
hey, baby, how you doing?
I don't know about this close
What did I
up.
tell you,
I'm hoping
youngins?
everyone's I'm
$39.99 a minute. I'm sorry, I ain't cheap, people. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm just being honest. I ain't cheap, people.
That's not expensive.
$39.99 a minute, man. I ain't playing
That's
around
like
here.
he's on the retro 80s plan, so you're actually
That's
getting
that.
a
Wait,
bargain.
that's a COVID discount. It would be $50, but you get $11 COVID discount. Yeah, I'm just
We
trying
would
to help
have to
out
get
some people.
landlines again.
Well, no, cell phones work good. Trust me, they work real good. Yeah, you can put them on speaker then, so both hands are free.
Oh Lord.
Well, that's so you can bake cookies and stuff. I'm only talking about teaching people how to
Yes.
cook.
Yes.
Y'all got see all
And
y'all got dirty minds. You see, I was talking about teaching people how to cook, and
no,
y'all got all
all I
dirty
was
minds.
thinking about that was that I would deal with AT&T over Cox in that
Oh
situation
yeah.
because, I stopped dealing with Cox. So,
Carletta, is that your name? In a couple weeks I'll talk about that. You mean how I learned how to control my dreams and well, I always dream in color. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't dream in black and white. I've always dreamed in color.
I just told you there's people that aren't
Mm.
on the same level.
You
Damn
see,
it,
she's
Joe.
calling you people stupid is what she's doing. She is saying y'all are
No,
wait,
I'm
no,
not.
let me
I'm
go back to my
absolutely
favorite
not.
word. She's saying y'all ignorant. Y'all
I
ignorant.
did
Just
not.
so you know. She's saying y'all
Okay.
ignorant.
I did not say
Trish
that.
is like, don't put this on me. Y'all okay, Joe's
They
saying y'all
know.
ignorant. How's
They
that?
know.
Y'all
There
ignorant
are
people.
people that and I never knew this because it's something in this lifetime that has always been a reality. There's people that don't see in color. There's people that don't have inner dialogue. Do you remember when you learned that? That's crazy to me. Like I couldn't fathom that concept. Like you
Yeah.
couldn't have a conversation in your mind before it actually happened.
You mean Steven? No, you're not. Wait, what? No. Sorry. My eyes are green. That's you should be able to tell. No, I'm not putting my face up there so you can see my eye color. You're just weird. They're green. Trust me. Go watch one of the videos where my face is up close. They're green. They're
Is it because on that one show like a few weeks ago I read that newspaper article about beware of blue-eyed people?
look, see there you go. They're green.
It was from like 1903 or something, and they had this warning. I mean, a huge article about beware the blue-eyed people, how they were
Yeah, that's
evil.
that's the Scottish Irish Welsh in me. The other day I was talking to somebody about this, and I got 40% like Scottish Irish Welsh, and a good chunk is like 30 something percent is Italian. Scottish Irish Welsh is Viking. That's what it is. Yes. No, my grandmother was red haired. I mean, red hair, green eyed, and I just called her Lily White. She's so white skinned. I mean, she's scared white people. She's so white. Yeah, it's just one of them things. And no, it's in that part of the
That's the
world.
vampire part of him.
I know.
That's the
Well, that's what I'm
vampire
saying. In
side.
that part of the world, there are some really just white, 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 white. Oh, when I was younger, my friends used to give me shit because my legs were like milk white. Yeah, they were like, "Damn, Joe, cover them things, please, man. We're going blind." Yeah, no, it's just part of life. No, I don't get easily embarrassed, and I don't get easily upset either. When I was young, I did. I might smack you just for the sake of smacking you, but not today. Oh no, I've been known to grab people and just smack the crap out of them when I was young. But I'm chilled. Yes. Once I made 40, I
Wow.
chilled out.
I
Sort
didn't
of.
know that. I've
Kind of.
seen you in an angry situation.
No, nobody ever wants to either because I'm a mean SOB when I get mad.
He can
It's
be an asshole,
that's just no,
like
no,
sarcastic. Yeah, that's just your personality. I mean, I'm
that's just
not to
normal
me.
there.
I'm saying just like
What do you
to the
say?
people who don't see in color.
Damn it. Oh yeah. Well, no, I actually I've known a couple people over the years that
I'm
couldn't
just
actually
kidding.
see in color. One of my youngest stepdaughter's best friends that could only see yellow and brown, which I thought was kind of strange. But what do I know about that? No, Carolyn. What? Really? No. Yeah, I'll be in DC later this year. I'll be in Buffalo later this year, or yeah, and then I'll be in LA in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, 2 months.
I'm
Look,
gonna go to the Mississippi, New Orleans area at some point this year because Joe promised to take me to some haunted swampland.
oh yeah, we'll take some haunted swamp after we take it a quarter. She won't even know her damn name. She'll come back at the show thinking, "What's my name? Crystal?
I can only
Karen?"
hope. Man, I'm already like the girl in 50
Mm.
First Dates where she wakes up and has to do everything all over again. I'll have all
Oh
these videos though to tell me.
yes, we'll program the videos. Oh no, there's some great. I know we got to go, but there are some really great cemeteries in the swamps, and they're well taken care of, and they're big, and you can run through. Most are about 300 years old in the 1700s. You have to remember, we're not like Europe. The United States only has 500 or 600 years of history, whereas Europe has several thousand years of history. It's a different place, but it's still interesting. I'm still scared of it,
Documented
Jesus.
history.
Yeah, still scared of a Jesus out of you. I've seen some wicked shit out there. And but it's even better because you're not local, and the alligators are about to making all kind of noise. People are like, "What the hell is that?" There's the Bigfoot. It's the honey on swamp monsters coming for you. No, it's just an alligator trying to screw with another alligator.
Or wild boars are pretty scary in
Mm.
that. Well, at least in the South they
You'll
were.
see
I
them
mean,
down
you can find
here
them the
in
size of
Honey.
like a Volkswagen.
Oh yeah, you'll see them in Honey Island. They're usually running packs of 50 or 60, and you'll right as they crossing through a little
50 or
swamp or something.
60.
Oh yeah, and then you'll see them run by, and then all of a sudden you'll see like 80 little piglets running behind them. It's
And people,
crazy.
these aren't like cute little pigs. Like these are
Oh, they're big
killer,
pigs. The
aggressive.
males are usually red Russian boars with 6 to 9 inch fangs, so they're not playing
Oof.
around. They'll get up to 700-800 pounds easy. You don't want to mess with them, and
Mm-mm.
shooting them in the
And
head a lot of times they won't
aggressive.
even stop. Yeah, they are aggressive too. They really are.
Oof.
But I've seen fawns drop it. We drove in one night. I look, put the Q beam, and I'm actually physically watching this doe drop her fawn. I was like, wow, that was just unexpected. I mean, it was just unexpected. I was looking for aliens, and I got to see a deer drop a fawn. That was crazy. No, we're out of here,
Maybe that was your
guys.
trigger memory.
It might have been too. That's the bad part. It might have
The
been.
deer.
It might have damn been. Oh man, you hear like you'll be out there some nights. You hear people talking. You're like 12 miles back up. You hear people talking and stuff, which is creepy off to start off with. But there's this one trail every now and then you'll hear. They must have like done Native American stuff back then. You'll hear like people talking and Native American dancing, sound like dancing and music,
Yeah.
drums and stuff beating. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of cool and kind of creepy at the same time. We've seen all kind of stuff back there, people. Oh
I
yeah,
swear, and everything in the swamp will kill you. I mean, if it's not
pretty much.
like
That's the bad
mosquitoes or
part.
snakes,
And they'll kill
cottonmouths.
you too. I mean, it's just black widows, everything you name. And then there's the black thing out there. We'll have to talk about that on another show, but it's out there.
Is that the
Yeah.
bog man or something?
No, this is just. I mean, it would take me a half hour to explain it, but I know we got to go. And then Joe's on a diet, so usually I'd go eat now, but I can't.
It's too
Yes.
late. You shouldn't eat past 8.
The hell, I stay up to like 4 in the morning. Sometimes
Eh,
6. When I'm off, like I'm off the next 2 days, I'll be up to 6. I'll be working on computers, aggravating people, screwing around with stuff,
But you still shouldn't
talking
eat after 8 o'clock because it
talking to
screws
some
up
of my
your.
friends. My doctor says, "Oh, why?" So he said, "You can eat anytime you want." He said, "Your metabolism's going to burn it no matter what." I was like, "Really, doc?" I said, "What? Do you have an insurance policy on me or something?" I was just asking. My cardiologist, he loves me. He said, and with the exception of this weight I gained doing COVID, he loves me. He said every time I go over there, all my vitals were in the right places, all my cholesterol was good. He tells me, he goes, "Oh, your cholesterol's 110." I said, "Well, that's perfect." He said, "Yeah, but you got a stent, so I wanted 70." I said, "Doc, don't push it." Didn't I said, 70, what, you want me to eat nothing? I'm like, I said, because I tell him all the time I like a good steak. He said, "You can eat all the steaks you want. I'm fine with that." He said, "Just stay away from the candy bars." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to take you out, Doc. You hear me tonight? No candy bars, no Doc. You better watch it." No, I'm just kidding. But we got to go. Take us out of here, youngin.
Yes, thank you all for watching again,
She is one of
and
my
we will see
favorites.
you next week. I don't know what I'm doing next week. I'm still moving, and Joe's going to be confused probably if I don't show up again.
No, now you told me you
So
moved. I
have a
just
good
forgot
week,
last time you
everyone.
told me you moved because Michelle asked me, and I was like, I don't know where the hell she's
Yes.
at. And then when I texted you, I realized I remembered you telling me when you texted me.
I might be one of these homeless people because I can't find a house. So
Yeah, it's funny. My son's saying the same thing. He can't find one. He's like, "What the hell, man?"
yeah, there's foreign companies that come in and bid over the asking price. And there's nothing, normal people like me that aren't millionaires can do about it. So
Things are
I might be
expensive right
squatting
now in
in one of
LA.
those one of those abandoned buildings or something. So we'll
Oh
see.
Lord, we'll send
Anyways,
her to
have a
live
good
with
night.
somebody.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Night, Dave. Jill.